ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
On problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. A phone in affection, I summon and dub it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to SportsGamer.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone in progression, it's all that I wanted. A phone in affection, I summon and dub it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sports Gamer. My name is Tugi, and this is a little show that we like to call the Wraparound, where we talk about all the goings-on throughout the ECL and all of our different tiers of play. Our first week of the season is in the books. As a result, we have a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to waste too much time. I want to get right down to business today in talking about our tiers. And of course, there is no better place to start than right at the top. It is the Elite Division. Now, as we go through these, of course, if you look at the very top of the board right now, as it's currently stated, Voitamaton at the top, 6 games played, 15 points, only the 1 loss to their credit. But obviously, you have different teams with different amount of games played. So I'm going to be going off of the points per game because I feel like it gives you a pretty good indication of form, not that the overall standings don't as well. But we get to kick things off here by taking a look at Parasite. A lot of people's favorites to finish first on the board, and hey, good reason as to why. They are first thus far through those 4 games in goals for per game, averaging 4 goals a game. They have a perfect power play thus far, and the top face-off percentage in Elite, as you can see from Benito, with a 61.11%. Nicky Dangles at the top of the board. He is tied for second in league scoring with 15 points and is 8th in goals with 5. Vatu tied for 8th in scoring with 12 points. He is 7th in goals with 6. And Temu on defense, tied for 8th in defensive scoring with 7 points. And of course, that's not to discount Benito or Tombo for that matter. And of course, the goaltenders thus far, Nike tied for 3rd in save percentage with an even 900, and Fincere currently 5th in save percentage with an 875. It is a very, very strong start for Parasite to begin this season. Next up, though, that brings us to Mustakalta, who are off to a very, very strong start of their own, highlighted by Aro, who is currently tied for 2nd in goals in the league with 8 in 4 games. Alupakas tied for 8th in goals with 5. Mise tied for 3rd in defensive scoring with 9 points. And then, of course, Latve in goal, tied for 3rd in the league in save percentage, also with an even 900. So things are looking very good for Mustakalta through the very early stages of this season. Voitamaton up next, and of course, a lot of high expectations for this club this season. Eki starting things off. He is tied in second for scoring in the league with 15 points. Tempinen behind him, tied for 6th in scoring with 13 points, and tied for 2nd in goals with 8 on the season thus far. Potsoff, of course, is back in a big-time way. He is currently top 10 in scoring with 11 points, and top 4 in goals with 7. And on the defensive side, Flyer Kungan, 2nd in defensive scoring with 10 points. Jamal tied for 6th in D scoring with 8 points. And of course, that brings us to the goaltending, not to discount Zande, the former Sibelius, but Hans Salinho right now. Of course, one of the few goaltenders with a shutout, and he is 1st in save percentage with a 911 through those 4 games played. Parasite, Voitamaton, the teams that you expect to see towards the top. They're doing a good job so far. Exen is also in that conversation. 4 wins in their first 6 games, led by Mozia, who is tied for 6th in scoring with 13 points and is top 4 in goals with 7. And on the defensive side, Domi tied for 3rd in defensive scoring with those 9 points so far. So, of course, some strong starts for teams that expect to be towards the top. And then there's the Falun coal miners, who you never really quite know what to expect from them in terms of the level of play that they can bring versus sometimes the results that they get. But in terms of the most notable player for me, for them, there's been a debate about the name, so you are somebody who I'm going to reach out to and say, hey, let me know for sure. Is it Smake, as some people have told me they think it is, or is it Smake, which would make more sense to me based on a available Swedish translation? Regardless, tied for 8th in goals with 5, but as you could see, has only taken 6 shots, so a very sustainable 83.3 shooting percentage for the rookie. Again, a decent start for the Falun coal miners thus far. We'll see how far they happen to go. Up next, we have the Blackjacks with some key players for them up to this point of the season. Kermit, who is first in league scoring with 17 points, first in goal scoring with 10, and third in terms of shooting percentage at 52.6%. Below him is Timothy, who was tied for second in league scoring with 15 points, top 8 in goals with 5, and second in shooting percentage at 62.5. And then Psycho Skills, very impressive start to the season, 5th in scoring overall with 14 points. That is first amongst all defensemen. Of course, for the Blackjacks, trying to make it beyond just the opening round. And of course, may have seen a quick little highlight there as well. A reminder, a lot of emphasis from us this season on our EA social, or our EA and our ECL social program. I mean, technically EA is involved because, hey, it's their game. But through the ECL social program, again, we want to see your clips, your highlights on social media. Make sure to use the hashtag ECL25clips, and you might just get your highlights here on this show, and of course, other spots as well for us on the social media side of things. Again, hashtag ECL25clips. But with that, we move on to the next team to talk about. It is going to cause a refresh here. Come on, website. You got to cooperate with me. It is Totarit and a couple of defensemen worth shouting out here for them so far. Carcass tied for 8th in defensive scoring with 7 points. And then Sega Sornmi first in blocked shots. So worth keeping an eye out on those two, as again, Totarit, another team, high expectations for themselves. And look at Stammer there as well with 859. Not too shabby. That brings up Unwanted. They also have a defenseman of note. It is Beastrom, who was off to a pretty good start, tied for 6th in defensive scoring with 8 points, and leads all defensemen in goal scoring with 3 in those 6 games played. Aside from him, we have to shout out Henka as well, tied for top 8 in goal scoring with 5 goals in 6 games. That brings us to Goons, who on pace are going to be the first team out, but obviously still a lot of time to fix that. But man, do they have some interesting players to talk about here. We start with Kainerly at the top, who is tied for 8th in scoring with 12 points. Top 4 in goals with 7. First in the league in hits. Kantola behind him, 10th in scoring with 11 points. 8th in goals with 5. And is second in the league in hits. Lexa below them is the current league leader in penalty minutes. They are easily the league's most physical team, 207 hits. The next highest for a team is 86. They are living up to their namesake. And of course on defense as well, Easy Just Sniper, 3rd in defensive scoring with 9 points, leads the entire league in interceptions, and Sisu tied for 8th in defensive scoring with 7 points. Decent start for Goons thus far. We'll see if they can get over the hump and get back into a playoff scenario. That brings us to Mythix. Through their 4 games, just 1 win. But our highlight here is going to be on Takedown, their only acquisition that is in the lineup full time. And honestly, I mean, yeah, it's 2 games. It's not the biggest sample size, but second in save percentage in the league right now with a 9.03. So not a bad start to life with a new club. Polski boys currently behind them. Mastari Tiku, one of the goaltenders, with a shutout on the season so far. However, the big concern, you'll see it right there from Brokala, 35.4 on the face-off draws. Needs to do better. You are not going to find yourselves in a playoff scenario with a number like that. And if by some miracle you do, probably won't go too well for you in the long run. Key player for Roots Gaming thus far, we have to mention Sokolo, top 8 in goals with the 5 on the season so far. And then that brings us to the bottom 4 teams. For Hamo, honestly, nothing overly notable in terms of players being top 10 in stats or anything like that. I mean, 1 win in 6 games. It's been a bit of a rough start for them. Tiki Talk, of course, have yet to start their new season after a late qualifier. And Vesa Pampa, no wins in their first 2 games. Still quite early. Renascore at the bottom, though, the lowest goals for per game with a even 1.0, and the highest goals against per game currently at a 4.5. Certainly a team that needs to have a better couple of series beyond how they started off their season. But that brings us to the end of the Elite Division. And again, it is all leading to our live finals, February 20th, live at Assembly. The top 2 teams will battle it out for championship status. And again, we hope that you can join us for that particular live event. Again, if you are an ECL player license holder, you have a free ticket waiting for you. Again, all the information that you need, sportsgamer.gg. But again, the live final for the Elite Division, February 20th in Helsinki at Assembly. You're not going to want to miss it. With that, we'll move on to talking about our second tier. It is the Pro Division, and we'll start off in Group number 1 with the undefeated, the perfect 6-0 Zenigame. Off to a very strong start this season, to say the least. Enjoying life in Pro Division thus far, led by Johannes at the top 5 in scoring with 16 points. That is first amongst defensemen, as well as first in goals amongst defensemen with the 5. And then the love package himself, Rakos Bakos, tied for 5th in scoring with 16 points. How many times am I going to have to say that name this season? That's insane. Up next is Emosi. 99% sure it's Emosi. Some people I've discovered in the ECL like to use 1s as L's. So let me know if it's Emosil, but I'm pretty sure it's Emosi here. Tied for 5th in scoring with 16 points. Tied for 3rd in goals with 10. And then we pay attention to the goaltender in UB Exor, tied, or just outright, in 2nd place in save percentage with an 8.93, and has a shutout to his name. That brings us to the Gotham Knights, and the notable player here for the former Elite Division club has to be in goal. Another interesting name, but it is Kusan, first in the league in save percentage with a very stellar 914 and a perfect 4-0 record. So certainly a goaltender to keep an eye out on. 3rd place on points percentage would be Otuksits. As we take a look at a couple of key players for them so far, their leading scorer, Machine Gun Kale, tied for 5th in league scoring with 16 points. Miguli behind him, tied for 5th in scoring with 16 points, also tied for 5th in goals with 9. And then Yukis as well, tied for 3rd in defensive scoring with 11 points. That brings us to Blackbirds, 2 wins in their first 6 games, but a couple of key players here. Almio, if I'm not mistaken, tied for 5th in the league in goals with 9. And on the defensive side of things, it is Yelik that we're paying attention to here. 5th in save percentage with an 880 on the season so far. In terms of Nova, 3 wins in their first 6 games. Nobody up there in terms of top 10 stats or anything like that, but a strong start to their season. Devils also currently on a playoff pace. However, they have the league's worst face-off percentage at a 42.07. They are going to need to change that if they are going to be successful this year. We look at the old timers who, of course, are currently listed in first with 12 games played, however, but they have a lot of interesting players to take a look at here. Starting off at the top, it is Verpi, who is first in league scoring with 24 points. Yapi Koita up there as well. Thank you very much. Hopefully I got the pronunciation right. Tied for second in scoring with 21 points. First in goals with 13. Larig, who is tied for eighth in goals with 8. Mikava, top 3 in defensive scoring with 11 points. And in goal, Tisalino. 4 shutouts already in 12 games played. That is first in the league. Very impressive stuff there. Now, the one thing to pay attention to for the old timers especially, most penalties taken in the league thus far. They have played more games than the vast majority of teams, but you do want to avoid that penalty trouble if you can. Especially when we talk about Nordic Stars up next, who are the league's most physical team in terms of checks, yet do not lead the league in penalties. So that is a key there. Their top player, Masentoitunu, and again, working on some pronunciations. Hopefully I'm close. Fourth in scoring with 17 points, and Yesbaru up there as well, tied for fifth in scoring with 16 points, and is third in goals with 10. So a decent start to the season for Nordic Stars that would currently have them in playoff form. We have, I believe it's Dilac as opposed to Delac. There's been conversation about that. Let me know. Before Dilac, key player for them so far is Puntila, tied for 8th in goals with 8. And again, one of those players that likes to use a 1. They like to use a 1. It's in there. Case in point, I'm not going crazy. I told you. SSK Esports up next. Worth noting, highest face-off percentage in the league at a 57.86. And the key player for the Swedish contingency thus far is a former elite veteran in Rubitus, tied for 5th in goals with 9. Talk about a couple other teams up next, whether or not it's owned Hexa or you want to put the emphasis on it with Onedexa, perhaps. Let me know which one you prefer. You also have Might on the outside looking in at the moment. No wins in 6 games, but a couple of points there. So, hey, hanging around, being tough to beat. Deadly Phantoms, 1 win in their first 6 games. A shocking start for a team with that much experience. And then one of the names where it's like, yeah, I should probably double check this, and I'm still probably going to get it wrong. But Kumanelta Klubeli, I think. We're getting there. Let me know. I might have been close. I might have been. You have the Serpents, no wins in 4 games. Tied for the worst goals against per game with a 5.5. Very rough start defensively for them this season. And then at the bottom, Spezio. The worst goals for per game with a 0.75. Winless through their first 4 games. Just 3 goals in those games. Very rough start for them this season compared to what myself and others thought they might be capable of. Group 2, we start off with No Street Sports, a perfect 6-0 as well. First in goals for per game, averaging 4.5 goals for. You have Toikas up there, tied for second in scoring with 21 points and is second in goals with 12. Isa up there as well, tied for 5th in scoring with 16 points. Otzes, who is second in defensive scoring with 13 points. And Snasigi is up there as well, tied for 3rd in save percentage with an 8.82. So not a bad start at all for No Street Sports. Second place on points percentage, you have Savalanche Aspire up there as well with 3 points in 4 games and finding all kinds of different ways to score some goals. Below them, you have Björklöven Esports and then Isman Valinta with 3 wins in their first 6 games. A couple of interesting players here. You have Posu, who was tied for 8th in goals with 8, so Not a bad start at all. And then Luki as well, who is tied for third in defensive scoring with 11 points. We cut back to the standings with Red Bull Munich Esports, 50% win percentage thus far, 3 wins in 6 games. And then the Nürnberg Ice Tigers, or if you prefer the Ice Tigers, perhaps, let me know. Top power play percentage in the league, though, at 66.67%. Golden Sticks behind them, just the 2 points so far. I will be completely honest, I accidentally clicked on that, but as you can see, stat-wise, hey, not bad, right? I mean, given that these are some of the lower numbers, the fact that, hey, you know, you got to win in one of those 2 games, not that bad. The Hervlev Eagles, worth pointing out here, despite just the 2 wins in the 6 games, looking at Viebholm, who is first in the league in hits, and then in goal, Eubens, who is tied for third in save percentage with an 8.82. So getting some solid goaltending there thus far. Afterlife with 1 win in their first 4 games. The Finnish Roosters, 2 wins in 6. Poggers, rough start for them. Not quite living up to the namesake. Just 1 win in 4 games. And then another name where I've heard a couple of different pronunciations. I'm going to go with Ruftik. Let me know if I'm wrong. I probably am. But it's just one of those names for this ignorant American. Rough start for them as well, with just 1 point in 6 games. That is a very poor start for a team of that caliber. Cheeky Grinders, 1 win in 4. They are tied for the worst goals against per game average at a 5.5. Refuse to lose, 1 win in 6 games, but again, they were a very late addition to the pro tier. Loki leading the way, tied for 8th in goals with 8 thus far. And of course, HC Lugano Esports yet to start their season. But there you go. That is what things are looking like in the pro division as things stand. Again, still very early days, as it will be for every division that we're talking about. But intrigued to see kind of who's able to turn things around after a slow start. Intrigued to see if some teams are just getting off to a little bit of a hotter start and fade away. I mean, that's the interesting thing about the pro division. It is often very, very unpredictable. We continue on talking about tier number 3. It is the light division. And let's kick things off in Group 1. Mudo Hockey at the top, 4 wins in 6 games for the Swedish outlet. A squad behind them with a couple of key players here. Delin at the top, who was second in league scoring with 22 points and third in goals with 14. And behind him, I'm not going to go with Tredsko because I don't believe that's it. I believe it's closer to Tredho. Let me know if I'm wrong. It's somewhere around there. But third in scoring with 21 points. A dynamic duo there. Soderlund not too far behind. Behind them in the standings, 2 wins out of 4. A Farmalaget is there. Puck over glass. Have a interesting player to keep an eye out on. Knuzon is on the defensive side of things. Third in defensive scoring with 13 points. Always like to see a defender that's able to contribute to that level. Below them, you have Team Infernus. 4 wins out of 8. The Carolus Icemen. 3 out of 6 thus far. HC Vadelma with a key player to focus on here in the early stages of the season. It is their leading scorer in Johan, who is tied for third with 21 points. Very strong start there. Black Sharks, 3 wins in 8 games. The German Ice Gladiators, 1 win out of 6. Same for the SSK Academy. And then, of course, at the bottom, Kolikot Esports and DEG Esports yet to start their seasons. That brings us down to Group 2, and we kick things off with Tokaku, if I'm not mistaken. It's close enough, right? Please let it be close enough. I hope so. The key player for them thus far is the goaltender, Bobby Python. Hell of a name, hell of a goalie. 4-0 with a 923 save percentage. Keep an eye out on Bobby Python as the season goes on. Second place on points percentage is HC Boostertal Esports, and another team with a goaltender to keep an eye out on as we get to the stats page here and take a look at Aruzakuza. Great name, third in save percentage with a 909 thus far and a shutout to their credits. Below them, the team technically in first on points right now, but again, have the extra games played in Rudy. If I'm not mistaken, again, one of those ones where it's like, yeah, we're getting there, right? Plus, I'm getting back into the swing of things. Got to remember, I missed last season, right? But hey, we're getting there. Temeti leading the way as a goaltender. Yet again, somebody else to focus on in net. Fourth in save percentage with an 893 and a 5-1-0 record thus far with a shutout. The goalies of Group 2 are shining bright to kick things off. You have Eisbaren Lauf Gaming below them with 2 wins out of 4. Project X, let's say hello to another goaltender who's looking great thus far in the form of Sisu, who is currently second in save percentage with a 920 and a shutout. Below them, Coup de Grace Matthews with a 12-goal season thus far. That is good for 5th in the league in terms of scoring. And then Iron Fist, worth paying attention to as well. Second in defensive scoring with 14 points and first in goals amongst defenders with 6. Below them in the standings, 1 win in 4 games. Vitos Vitia there with SCB Esports below them. And Kokai Esports, 3 wins in their 8 games, led by Lee Haponi, who is tied for 4th in defensive scoring with 12 points. All 12 of them being assists. Slow start for Boomers, 1 win in 4 games. Taisto, 1 win in 8. Rough start for them. The Iserlohn Roosters, or the Roostas, whatever you prefer in terms of the inflection on it. No wins in 4, and Woodhands, no wins in their opening series. That brings us down to group number 3. We kick things off with the Dara Stars and, well, their star player thus far in Senatori, who is 3rd in scoring with 20 points. Not a bad start, of course, 13 goals as well. You also have underrated, perhaps, with their key player, Andre, another goaltender worth paying attention to, 5th in save percentage with an 891, also has a shutout in those 4 games. Below them, Hopfen Smoothie HC, one of the better names for my money, 3 wins in 4 games. And below them, Kertomia Vastan, their key player on defense. We are looking at Datsuki, who is tied for 4th in defensive scoring with 12 points. It's 1 goal and 11 assists. Below them in the standings, you have Macho HC with 1 win in 4, Saucer Hockey with 1 win in 6, Seinayoki Noms with the 2 wins in 6 games, the Moscow Capitals, or Capitals, whatever you prefer, with 1 win in 4 games. Game Over Esports, no wins in their opening series. The Glimus, if I'm not mistaken, Hockey Krefeld, have yet to start their season. Sune Esports, or Sune Eco Esports, no wins in their first 2 games. And then Sete Le Kerho, no wins in their first 2 games. That brings us down to group number 4. At the top, you have Vita, 4 wins in 6 games. Technical Disaster, 4 wins in 8 games, including me, 4 wins in 6 games. But Helala with 1 win in 2 games. But as you can tell by the points percentage, it's actually not too bad of a start. As we go to SSK prospects, who have already played 10 games on the season so far. And actually, excuse me, in terms of SSK prospects, we were looking earlier on for SSK Academy, who had the 6 games played thus far. No, we didn't. What is happening here? Did I lose a team? Where did they go? What happened to them? I'm leaving this in. Don't worry about it. No, I was on the right team in the first place. I'm just losing my mind. Or I could have sworn it loaded up somebody different, or either that I didn't recognize the captains. We're fine. I'm leaving that in. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be a perfectionist. Editing is for the weak. Sveti, worth pointing out at the top. First in league scoring with 30 points in 10 games. You see, that's the reason I got flustered, because that's a performance thus far that deserves pure confusion. Because how are you off to that good of a start? I mean, that is just tremendously done. E. Bjorken tied for third in scoring with 21 points, second in goals with 15. Victor Hall, first in defensive scoring with 16 points. Rame tied for fourth in scoring with 12. Let me know if it's Ram. Pretty sure it's Rame, though. And on the goaltending side of things, again, pretty sure it is Lidman. Might be Lidmani. Let me know. Pretty sure it's Lidman. First in the league with 2 shutouts, and again, a straight 8 for save percentage. So SSK prospects, currently in a playoff spot. If the season were to end, decent start. Almost would expect it to be a little bit better with how many key players they had to point out there. Below them in the standings, the VBO Stars. Broer, worth pointing out, of course, tied for third in scoring with 21 points and is first in the league in goals with 16. Also worth mentioning, right behind him, August is there first in hits in the league. So a very physical player. They have the goal scoring presence. Going to be an interesting team to watch as the season goes on. Below them, 6 Sticks Misfits, 1 win in 2 games. Hockey Holics with the same amount. Calipo HC, 2 wins out of 6 games. Hurricanes with 1 out of 6. Kikakirlia with no wins in their opening series. Trojans, or Trojans, whatever you prefer, with no wins in their first 8 games. A tough draw, but not as tough, perhaps, as Bellissimo, which no wins in their opening 6 games and currently on a lower point percentage. That is what things are looking like at the moment in our light division. Again, still very early days in the season, of course. And again, not only as the teams continue to warm up, hopefully I'll warm up and get a bit more confidence with some of these names. I'm so sorry. I'm trying. I promise. Turning our attention now to our 4th tier. It is the core division. And let's kick things off in tier, or should I say group number 1 in this tier. Taskubilis, 6 wins in their 8 games. And you know me, I love shouting out the goaltenders at the bottom here. Lunas, 3rd in save percentage with an 892 and 2 shutouts on the season thus far. Tremendous start for them. Dynamo HC with 2 wins in 4 games. Copy Booty as well, 3 wins out of 4. Not a bad way to start. Hiljanen Pikkukaupunki up there with 5 wins in 8 games. Gotta shout out another goaltender, Larde. First in save percentage with a 920 and a shutout in 4 games played. Very, very strong start. Below them in the standings, you have Prowlers with 2 wins out of 4. The Gilly Gang with 4 wins out of 8 to start the season. And a couple of interesting players. Vide, who is 2nd in goals with 18 in 8 games. And Disautaya with 23 points is 1st in scoring amongst defensemen. So a very strong start for the Gilly Gang in terms of some of that offensive production. Below them in the standings, Philippi Palitz and Cape Town Kings. Both teams would currently be inside that playoff structure. Below them, Raiders HC, 1 win in 6. Scrubs, living up to their namesake so far. I mean, you kind of set yourself up for that one, everybody. I mean, 0 wins in 4 games. And below them, Ingolstadt, no wins in 6 games at the bottom of group number 1. It does bring us to group number 2, however. Maito Yuna leading the way currently with 2 games played, but a win and an overtime win in that timeline. Again, as we always say, very early days, but what I have to mention specifically about them, sorry, I think the Milk Train's my favorite logo in all of the ECL. I mean, come on. That is absolutely fantastic. Below them, the Cost Wolves, or Wolves, I believe. Let me know, again, what you prefer. 3 wins in 6 games. Nameless below them with 5 wins in 8 games. Led by, of all people, old Yimmy No Hands. Come on, James. Come on, Jimmy. Give yourself some credit. You got some hands. Tied for 4th in goals with 15 to begin this season for Yimmy No Hands. Below them in the standings, Armayan Kurli with 4 wins in 6 games. Below them, 2 wins in 4 games for Salas Yura. Not a bad start for them either. A couple of key players to mention here, and it's the goaltenders that I want to mention so far, as Yuhu is up there. At the original time I took notes, had 1 game, 1 win, and a 14 save shutout, but as you can see, still rocking now a 909 save percentage. And below them, their tandem partner with a pretty stellar save percentage of their own, granted in 2 games with a 909, Ivo Qualut. Not a bad start at all in goal for, again, Salasura. You have the Reckless Panthers, 3 wins in 6 games. HC Lisco with Verti, who is 4th in defensive scoring with 15 points and 5 goals. A very strong start there. Below them in the standings, we have Nordic Nosebleed, 1 win in 6. Nürnberg Nidhogg with 1 win in 4. HC Oviedo with 1 win in 4. You have Yervan Leki with 1 win in 6. And then Wildcats Esports, 0 regulation wins, that is, in their 6 games. Group number 3 brings us to the Silver Sword Griffins to kick things off. Couple of interesting players to make note of here, including their leading scorer, Martin Sillens, 3rd in scoring with 28 points, tied for 4th in goals with 15. Latminx, 4th in scoring with 27 points, and 3rd in the league in goals with 16. And then Cliteris, 5th in defensive scoring with 14 points. Below them in the standings right now, at least on pace, is Kella Goldcard HC with Leviopo 1st in scoring, or tied for 1st in scoring, I should say, with 31 points. They are 1st in goals in the league, though, with 19. And below them, Rome Irali Mies, 1st in scoring, tied for 1st in scoring, of course, with 31 points. Below them in the standings, we have Tarun Gasilit, 4 wins, 4 regulation wins in 6 games. Panic on Ice with 2 regulation wins in 4 games. Pulp Odyssey with the 1 win in 2 games. And then Mies Casat, tremendous logo, 2 regulation wins in 8 games. Worth noting, key player for them statistically is Kaitsu, 1st in the league in hits with 95. The person in 2nd, 59. So a very physical player there in Kaitsu that is worth keeping an eye on. 1 win, at least regulation wins. Again, obviously this is the overtime wins, but 1 regulation win. I'm not going to say regulation every time. It takes too much time. 1 win in 8 games. It is Rodis, and then HC Last Resort with 1 regulation win in 4 games. Below them, we have the Kurbads Warriors with 1 regulation win in 6 games. The Brunker Bulldogs, key player for them, maybe not for the best reason, but Kvarting with the most penalty minutes in the league right now with 18. Worth keeping an eye on them. You gotta try to stay out of the box. And at the bottom of the group, the Backcheck Boys, yet to pick up a win on the season. Our last group, of course, is group number 4, Tiki Taka, starting us off. Couple of key players for them. Ratamersu, 5th in scoring with 26 points. Nasu is 6th in scoring with 25 points. Nicolas, 2nd in defensive scoring with 17 points, and 1st amongst defenders and goals with 8. And Yus, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of the emphasis on the double T there, but 3rd in defensive scoring with 16 points. So a strong start for them at the top of Group 4 in terms of point pace. Below them is Skyfall with 3 regulation wins in their 4 games thus far. The Carmadillos, 4 regulation wins in 6 games. You have the Solution behind them. Sopranos, great logo. Great logo with the Sopranos. Great logo. You also have Latunakat behind them. 2 regulation wins in 4 games. Rusty X, if I'm not mistaken. 2 regulation wins in 7 games with Vita Academy behind them. And then, of course, the 3 teams at the bottom. EHC Ultin Esports, EV Duisburg, and Dompa HC, who have yet to begin their season. That is the look once again at our core division. As always, intrigued to see how it's going to play out. And of course, once you get some of those teams that haven't started their seasons yet, throughout all of the tiers, how that's going to affect things, time will ultimately tell. And last but not least, everybody, let's take a look at our Neo division. Of course, our bottom tier, our entry level tier, and we will kick things off in Group Number 1, Ice Raptors, currently a perfect 2-0 with their regulation wins. Worth shouting out their goaltender in Tubu, who is 1st in save percentage with a 920, of course, in that limited sample size. You have Hawks HC, or Hawks, with 3 regulation wins in 4 games. Nordic Knights behind them with 2 wins out of 4 in terms of regulation. You have Selakunta below them with the 3 regulation win mark thus far. Worth pointing out, defenseman Simpa tied for 1st in defensive scoring at the time when the script was written with 10 points, now up to 14 points in 6 games, and also led the league in interceptions at the time, and as you can see here, still with 55 on the year. You have Davy Mihetz below Selakunta there with 2 regulation wins in 4 games. Key player for them is Flemeri, tied for 3rd in defensive scoring with 9 points on the season thus far. And then the Czechoslovakia Ravens, combination of 2 marvelous countries, 1 regulation win in 4 games thus far. The Nordic Falcons below them, the Ice Huskies Ham also in the mix. 2 interesting players for them with name pronunciations I will probably butcher, but Bigish is there with the most blocks in the league thus far, the 19 that you see highlighted, and Sizia, if I'm not mistaken, at the very top. Again, you'll have to excuse me for some of the German as well. I've lost a lot since I learned some German back in middle school. But 1st in defensive goals with 5, leading the team in goals as a defender. Probably not a winning formula, but it's working so far. So figure that one out. Now, of course, on the site here listed as a forward, but again, if you go back and we take a look at the stats page, and then you take a look at defensemen, and all of a sudden, was I wrong? I was not. Look at that. I'm a smart man. I'm a genius. We move on. Now that I'm tired of being sassy. I've just been so sassy this whole time. We have a good time here. You have the worn out wise men who have yet to start their season, and Brothers in Gaming losing their first 2 games of the year. That brings us to group number 2 with the Vitapoya Vikings led by their key player thus far, Limas, who was tied for third in scoring with 24 points and is tied for the league leading goals with 16 on the year thus far. After that, in second, the Sala Siure squad led by top scorer for them, Nikazuki, if I'm not mistaken, fifth in scoring with 22 points and fourth in goals with 11 again for Sala Siure, as they are currently in second on points pace. Legion, or Legion, I believe, if you wanted to go more Swedish with it, currently, great logo by the way, with the one regulation win in 4 games. Kalit behind them, having played just the 2 games. HC Left Academy with the 1 regulation win in 4 games. And Lassen Lampat, same thing, 1 regulation win in 4 games. Not too much to mention for the Hanover Indians Esports squad or Beastie Boys and Inter Warriors, both the latter 2 teams without a win in their opening series. Group number 3 at the very top right now, 2 regulation wins in 2 games. We are looking at the Vicksbury Puckrats. Strong start to the season for them. Early days, of course. Nordic Macabre behind them, 3 regulation wins in 4 games. Very strong start for them. You have the Nordic Knights. Couple of players worth keeping an eye on for them. Amongst defensemen, Maremur tied for third in defensive scoring with 9 points. And then in goal, Vanica, third in save percentage with a 900 on the year thus far. Below them in the standings, we have the Typhoon Veterans, or the Veterans, with 2 regulation wins in 4 games. HC Total Chaos, 8 games played with 3 regulation wins. And Red Falcons, a key player, despite just the 1 regulation win thus far. Key player for them, Suomibo, who currently leads the league in hits with 86. Worth keeping an eye out on them moving forward. And of course, just outside, a handful of teams yet to start their season. Namestnovo, Red Bull Munich Academy, the Stockholm Vikings, or Vikings, and Utelan Palosura yet to start, or the only team that hasn't yet to start their season. They have their 2 games played thus far, just to make it difficult for all the teams at the bottom. They are the ones to have played games thus far. Group number 4, we start off with HC Wolves, or Wolves, whatever you prefer, with a key player for them, goaltender Spetsnaz, leading the way, second in save percentage with a 902 and a perfect record through their first 2 games. Clowns on Ice, a very good start to the season for them. Twisted Clowns below them. It's just a circus down here in Neo, led by Itna, who is tied for third in scoring with 24 points and is 5th in goals with 10. Flying Elbows below them with 2 regulation wins. Same for Marshalls. And then the Swiss Wolves Esports squad with 1 regulation win in 4 games. Below them, it is Mocha HC with 1 regulation win in 4 games. Northern Lighters yet to start their season. And then Strength of the Pack and Wildcat Esport not off to a hot start through their opening series. But again, it is just the first 2 games. And it brings us to our final group. It is group number 5, Fallen Rangers, with a perfect start to their season. 4 wins, all in regulation, led by Sepko, who is first in league scoring with 34 points in 4 games. Tied for first in goals with 16. Ridiculous. Zaki on the other side, they're second in scoring with 25 points, third in goals with 15. And then Predator tied for first in defensive scoring with 10 points. What a start to life in Group 5 for Fallen Rangers. You follow it up with the Boys Are Back and Sekotuli with 2 games played and 1 regulation win each. Ice Hockey Net Yetis, couple of points there, but no regulation wins yet. Casanova yet to start their season. Same for the combination Czech and Slovak team that you have there yet to start their year. Velia Skunta HC yet to start their season. Karhukisat with no wins in their first 2 games, and the same for Vatakunan Vitumat. Did I get close? I hope so. But with that, you've gotten all caught up. You've gotten a look at what's going on, as I mentioned, through all of our different tiers here in the ECL, at least through the first week of action. And again, the action's only going to pick up as some of these other teams get their seasons underway here in the second week of action. And again, we're going to be here covering as much of it as possible. Make sure to tune into sportsgamer.gg. And of course, follow the streams for our Elite and Pro Division coverage on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Twitch.tv/SportsGamerGG. 19:45 CET start times. Again, that's 1:45 p.m. Eastern for those of you on the North American side of things. For now, I want to thank you all for tuning in to another edition of the Wraparound. Again, make sure to get your clips in throughout the week. And as always, correct me on names. More than happy to be corrected. And let us know what else you want to see from the show. But for now, that'll do it for this one. Thank you again for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi. Kummalla lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to SportsGamer. Welcome back to our continued coverage of the ECL Elite Division. My name is Doogie, and I am joined this time out by 1B Major. Major, it is good to have you back, and you picked a heck of a broadcast to return for, as we have two very interesting matchups. The Falun Coal Miners taking on Mythix to kick us off, and then a little bit later on, a heavyweight tilt between Exen and Parasite.
Doogie, glad to be back, especially glad to be back with you, man. It's been almost a year, it feels like, since we've been in the booth together. But like you said, couldn't have picked a better time to come back. Two really fun matchups, one between two playoff hopefuls, and then our last matchup between what a lot of people feel could be the ECL Elite Final in a few months' time. So we have got an action-packed show here today. Cannot wait to get it started.
That, of course, being a live final from Assembly, of course. All the information you need at sportsgamer.gg to join us for that one, especially if you are a licensed player holder. Get into that event for free. And more information on sportsgamer.gg. But yeah, Major, as you mentioned, we have two really big matchups today. I mean, of course, Exen, Parasite, looked at as a kind of powerhouse matchup heading into the season. But our opening matchup between the Falun Coal Miners and Mythix maybe a little bit more interesting than some people expected after the opening week of action, with a team like the Falun Coal Miners off to a pretty hot start, as the standings will show here.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because I feel like a lot of people saw Falun Coal Miners and they thought it might be a little bit of a rough go for them. A lot of players that don't have a whole lot of elite experience outside of Furion and McSavid, but here they are, 3-1 so far in their 4 games and right in the thick of it. So I feel like they've really surprised a lot of people. And remember, this is a team that used to be in the Elite Division for a long time. We're kind of stuck in that mushy middle relegation series zone, decided to voluntarily drop down, earn their way back up, and now here they are. So far, it's paid off for them. While Mythix, a team that made the playoffs last season under the Bjorklöven Esports name, struggling a little bit to start the year, but nothing too concerning with it being so early on, just 4 games in. Going to be interesting to see how these two match up with one another because, Tsugi, you kind of get the feeling that in a few weeks' time, these are two teams that could be battling for some of those last playoff spots.
Yeah, I mean, again, we always kind of talk about it, right? That idea of how close and competitive this division is. You're always going to have great teams missing out on the playoffs. Mythix trying to make sure they are not one of those teams, 4 games down out of 30 to play. Let's get a look here at the numbers between these two teams heading into this regular season matchup. Of course, early days, just 4 games played on each side. Major, the Falun Coal Miners, 3 wins despite a negative goal differential. Not a bad way to begin a season.
Yeah, not bad at all. And it's funny because, like I said, you just didn't really know what you were going to be getting out of this team, but you also get who they played, Tugi. They've played 2 really good, proven elite teams. They played Totrit and they played Vesapampa, 2 teams that have a good amount of experience and a good amount of chemistry together. So those are not 2 wins against teams that are projected to finish at the bottom of the standings. Those are 2 wins against teams that are projected to be around the playoff line. So really impressive that Falun Coal Miners, even though they might not necessarily be blowing teams out of the water, it shows that they've had an ability to win close games so far this season. While for Mythix on the other side, really just a matter of can they get things going. Again, early in the season, they played Roots, they played Exen, neither easy matchups at all, but we talk about it all the time when these teams are just outside of that playoff cut line at the end of the year. Typically, when you go and you look back, they had that slow start to the season. Can Mythix avoid that, especially against a team in Falun Coal Miners that have caught a few guys by surprise so far to start out?
Well, in case you caught the wraparound at the start of this broadcast and haven't had enough of me butchering some names left and right, let's talk about the team lineups heading into this one. On the left-hand side, of course, the Falun Coal Miners, Strandman and Smake. We have confirmation. It is Smake, after all. And Buffy on the right wing side. Captain Furion with Supremski on defense and Eli Kamel between the pipes. On the other side for Mythix, Bobby, Vale, and Koloslav with Mickey's and Vidux on defense, and Rico between the pipes. And of course, Major, as we always do, we're going to start off these head-to-head comparisons with the centers. Again, it is Smake against Vale, and obviously, numbers are a little bit tilted towards one side thus far.
Yeah, and it makes sense considering you look at what Val and Coal Miners have done to start the season. But Smake, he's a guy that has come in and has really made a difference so far for this Falun Coal Miners team. We mentioned it, a lot of players in this roster for Falun Coal Miners that have not played at the Elite Division yet. Smake is one of them. So you're seeing a guy come in, step into that really important role at center, and do really well through his first 4 games. 5 goals, a 58.4 faceoff percentage, Tugi. That's the one thing that really stands out to me. We talk about all the time how possession, winning possession, is so important in these elite contests. That faceoff percentage is going to be really interesting to look out for. While for Valley on the other end, the stats maybe not where you would like to see them early on in the season, but Valley's still a guy that can really make an impact. We've seen him do it before. Can he find his way into doing it again? And again, the faceoff percentage, 42% for him compared to Smake's 58%. So the faceoffs, that's going to be something I really, really am interested to see how much that impacts these 2 games between these 2.
Again, Vale going head-to-head with Smake down the middle. But let's take a look at the winger battle here next. Again, for the Falun Coal Miners, Strandman and Buffy leading the way on the other side. Bobby, again, just the drip god of the Elite Division, and Koloslav on the right. Now, of course, when you have the center comparison going on, you're going to have the winger comparison kind of follow in terms of points thus far. But Major, the physicality as well for the Falun Coal Miners wingers standing out.
Yeah, they are not afraid to lay the body around. That is for sure. I mean, you see 35 and 23 hits. I mean, that is absolutely insane. That's, interestingly enough, more than what we've seen 2 teams get in their 2 games combined. So to see what they're doing just as wingers alone, really, really interesting. And that's going to make Bobby and Koloslav's job a lot harder with the puck under stick, knowing that they have 2 wingers, not just defensemen, but 2 wingers that are not afraid to kind of get physical, try to bump them off the puck, and create those turnovers. Bobby and Koloslav, 2 very good wingers. They were great for this team last season. But man, that's going to be a really interesting matchup to see how Strandman and Buffy can maybe impact their ability to get open space by using the body in this game.
Next up, of course, the defensive comparison. Again, Furion and Supremski for the Falun Coal Miners, Mickey's and Vidux on the other side. So we got to look at these numbers, Major. What stands out for you? Of course, again, factoring in just 4 games played for all of these guys.
I think it's got to be overall just the block shots. All of these guys have really been doing a good job so far of getting in front of pucks when they're being put on net. And that's going to be a massive part, I feel like, of this series. I don't think this is really a matchup to where there's a whole lot that separates these 2, at least not based on what we've seen through the first 4 games of the season. And we see it all the time, Tuki, where little plays like block shots, bumping the puck off of someone before they can get past the blue line. Those are the plays that can really add up and take away quality opportunities from the opposition. I mean, you see it especially on Mythix on the other side. 5 block shots each for both Mickey's and Waydux. So it's going to be interesting to see maybe how that impacts this game. And not only that, but the goalies, they're not going to complain about it either because it makes their job just a little bit easier. So I'm interested to see how much of an impact that has here.
Of course, our final head-to-head, it is the battle of the goaltenders. Ellie Kamel going up against Rico, and Ellie Kamel, the full-time starter. Obviously, Rico splitting time through the first 2 series for Mythix to kick off this season. Major, I mean, save percentage is close. Goals against average is close. I mean, it's tough to say whether or not one side has a distinct advantage heading into this matchup.
Yeah. And I mean, you even look back at just these 2 in their history in the league, and both of them are very solid goalies that are typically north of that 80% mark. So it wouldn't surprise me really to see both of them really play well. And it doesn't surprise me to see both of them kind of near each other because this is around where they have been throughout their elite career so far. Now, obviously, Rico 2 less games played, so not as big of a sample size. You could argue that same percentage would be higher if he had a couple of more games in there. But nevertheless, still a guy that really stepped up for this Mythix team last year, really brought them home a couple of wins maybe that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So, and then Ellie Kamel, obviously we're all familiar with him, someone that can really step in and take over a game when he's hot. These two are going to be interesting to look out for. If it ends up being one of those games where it's 1-1, these two will have a lot to do with it because of their ability to make big saves and the replays.
So again, we are just hopefully a few moments away from puck drop here on this one. A little bit of connectivity issue. Of course, I think the people here will be familiar with some of the issues currently going on in regards to matchmaking. So we're hoping to have that up and running for you. Again, our first matchup, Falun Coal Miners taking on Mythix. And again, a little bit later on, it is Exen and Parasite going head to head. For the moment, though, we'll throw it back over to the standings and just kind of take a look around the league. Of course, we talked about the Falun Coal Miners off to a decent start with 3 wins in their first 4 games. And of course, Mythix, a bit of a slower start compared to what we might have expected. But Major, so far, you take a look at those top 3 teams, and for a lot of people, those were the 3 that you would expect to see there. And really, it's kind of the idea of, hey, tunnel vision is no more. It kind of has created a bit of a vacuum for power here, right? With the players mostly evenly split between Parasite and Exen. Maybe, though, this is the opening that a team like Voitamaton finally needed to see to be able to get back to the top of the mountain when they have just run into a brick wall season after season in the semifinals.
Yeah, and I think that when people heard about tunnel vision splitting at the end of last season, and we kind of heard that some would go to Parasite and some would go to Exit, and then maybe some just wouldn't come back at all. I think that Void the Matone was probably one of the first teams that a lot of people thought of because, like you said, for 3 years now, it has been tunnel vision, it's been H-Reds, it has been that brick wall that you referred to that they have constantly found themselves running into. And it's not that they haven't been close. They've gone to 7 games against both multiple times. They've just fallen a little bit short each time. The question for them coming into the season was, would they be able to take advantage? And you kind of wondered if maybe after a while, if they couldn't, would there maybe be some shifts within the lineup and within the core? Because this is a team that has championship expectations season after season. I mean, there are countless trophies for every single player pretty much on that roster, but a lot of those trophies getting a little lonely, getting a little dusty. It's been since ECL 11 since anyone on that roster has been able to call themselves an ECL elite champion. So they were the number 1 team that I think a lot of people were looking at. But someone else I want to mention, Tugi, how about Mustakulta? 4-0 to start the season, obviously had a ton of transfers come in with elite experience. They were a team that I really was excited to see how they looked. I personally felt like they could be a playoff team. So far, they don't just look like a playoff team. They look like someone that could maybe steal one of those top 4 seeds. I think people kind of thought that 4 through 8 were kind of a crapshoot, but right now, Mr. Kulta, they look as convincing as anyone. So them starting out the way that they have, especially with that 15-5 goals for to goals against difference, really, really interesting from what again is a debuting elite team here this season.
Absolutely. I mean, I got to talk about it quite a bit in the wraparound, just the strong start that Mustakalta is off to. But again, it is a 30-game regular season. As we continue to wait to see if the teams can kind of figure out the, navigating the hurdles of the difficulty that is known as matchmaking on occasion, we do have some more numbers to take a look at here, including the top 10 forwards in terms of scoring thus far. And of course, we will see Moja, Nikki Dangles, Vatu in action a little bit later on. But how about the combination of the Blackjacks with Kermit and Timothy? Now, again, 6 games played, so we'll see how long they hold on to those top 2 spots. But, some interesting players being up there. You have that combination, Kanerty and Kantala from Goons. There is that space for some players to take that forward step into being known as one of the top players in the elite division.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you mentioned the 2 forwards on the Blackjacks and Kermit and Timothy. Those are 2 guys that have a lot of chemistry together. The Blackjacks are one of those teams to where typically when it comes to the forwards, they do bring back a lot of the same group more times than not. Timothy and that team have been really good together, whether it's Timothy at defense, whether it's Timothy at forward. He has been able to step up for this team, and to see him at that number 2 spot probably a little bit surprising. Well, Kermit, someone that I feel like has always been one of the more underappreciated forwards, so to speak. I've always thought he really has been an impact and has been a massive reason for TBJ's success over the last couple of years. So to see him up there, not surprising. But you mentioned some other guys. How about the two forwards for Goons being up there in Cantala and Canary? Obviously, the 8 games played kind of skews things a little bit, but nevertheless, like you said, this is an opportunity for certain players to maybe step themselves into that conversation. We saw the forwards with Totri do it last year, as well as Bjorkloven. Who's going to do it this year? New game, a lot of players kind of shifting around. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Well, we talked about the forwards, and as we continue to still have issues with the lobbies here, we might as well talk about the defensive side of things as well. The current top 10 in terms of scoring. Now, at the end of the week 1 match week, Psycho Skills not only was number 1 amongst defensemen, I believe he was top 5 in scoring in general, 14 points, all of them assists. Major, it's been a great return for him to this top tier after a couple of seasons away.
Yeah, I mean, what more could you ask for? And I'm actually looking at it right now. He currently ranks alone at 5th in the entire league in points. The only players ahead of him, Kermit, Nicky Dangles, Eki, and Timothy. So very, very good company to be in. And you mentioned it, coming back up into this elite level, that is not an easy thing when you had to drop down for a little bit as Psycho Skills did. Remember, he's someone that was with that Deadly Phantoms team for a long, long time. Deadly Phantoms, a team that had kind of been stuck in the pro division for a long time. You felt like they were going to break through and you kind of wondered. They're still in that position. He comes up, joins a couple of his former teammates, and has done really, really well so far with this team. But then a couple of names also that you're not surprised to see up there. Flyer Kungan at that second spot. Domi up there. Easy Shot Sniper. How about him at third? Obviously known to be a really good 1v1 player, showing that he can do it on the sixes side as well. So a lot of names that I feel like you're not too surprised to see, but at the same time, Psycho Kills being up there really, really impressive, especially considering how long it had been since he had been up in this top tier.
And why not? We'll throw it over to the goalies as well as, again, we continue to wait to see if they can solve this matchup issue that they currently have going on. You look at the top 10 goalies currently by save percentage. Ellie Kamel, who we'll see in action, hopefully in just a few moments, currently at number 5. But it is, of course, a long time backstop in this league. Han Salinho at the top of the board right now. But Major, you talked about the surprising start for Mustakalta. There's Latve, second place thus far. A great start for him with that undefeated record.
Yeah, and I mean a 90 save percentage so far in 4 games. Really, really impressive. And it's funny because I feel like at the goalie position, that's probably the position that we've seen the most change over the last year or two, Tugi. You go back to like ECL 22, a lot of these guys weren't even in the elite division, which is so crazy to think about. But the guys like Latve, Stammer, Kosti, so many goalies that have really emerged into the top tier that we're now saying are some of the best goalies, arguably, in the elite division. A lot of those names there, and it's just so fun to see how this division continues to evolve. And I don't think there's a position in the league where we've seen that more than that goalie spot.
Of course, you see now the teams have matched. We are just about ready to go. Game number 1 of 2 between Mythix and Falun Coal Miners. Major, something I noticed there, though, right before, as grudge match is on for this one. Hopefully they just run with it, is my hope, because it, it took them long enough to get going in. There was a crash loading in already. So the struggles, the struggles. Well, if they do ever get to play, I did notice one side being a little bit more gold 1T oriented as opposed to the other side being a little bit more defensive. I saw a gold truculence on the defensive side there. But now that we have a chance to throw it back to the goalies and continue that conversation, why not? Because, Major, I think you were right. That is the position that has seen the most amount of changes over the last couple of seasons. A lot of new names and faces in the mix.
Yeah, and I mean, I was kind of just mentioning some of them: Latve, Stammer, Circula, Mystery. I mean, there's a lot of goalies. Carlson Adam one as well. There's a lot of goalies that just weren't in this division all that long ago, and yet here they are sitting at that top 10 area. So it's just so interesting. And then Tugi, we can't ignore this. Hanselino still, despite all of that, being number one. I mean, it feels like we have been seeing this and saying this for what, 5 years now. Despite all of that change we're talking about, it's still one of the same guys at that number one spot in Hanselino. So as more things change, more things seem to stay the same.
So again, we are awaiting the start of this particular series. At this point, I'm tempted to say, let's just kind of see if we can find somebody else's stream so we can call some action going on in the Elite Division, maybe even the Pro Division. I know No Street Sports is streaming their games. We'll see what happens here as we try to get this underway, and hopefully, again, it's not going to affect things throughout the entirety of the broadcast. Time will tell, though, with how things have gone thus far. So we will see how this goes. Again, despite the fact that we are quite behind on starting the action, we are going to be here every Monday and Wednesday for Elite Division action. Of course, Pro Division action on Tuesday, typically, because here's clearly an exception to the rule, with a 19:45 CET start time, 1:45 p.m. Eastern for those of you on the North American side of things that happen to tune in. So the big question is, how much further can we stretch for time when we have pretty much stretched as much as we can? Those muscles and tendons are screaming, Brandon, as we wait for hopefully a resolution to this searching issue.
Yeah, and I'm ready just because I want to see these two teams face off. I mean, we talked about it during the intro, Tugi. Falun, a team that's kind of caught some eyes through the first couple of games of the year, starting out 3-1 in a playoff spot. Mythix, a playoff team a season ago that have kind of struggled a little bit out of the gate. This is a really intriguing matchup. And then obviously we have a potential final that we're looking at in the next matchup after this. So I think everyone's ready to get started, not just because we want to see hockey, but we have two really fun matchups here to looking forward to. So hopefully it won't be too much longer. Hopefully the connection issues can all get themselves sorted out and we can get things underway here in a moment.
I believe they are trying again. We will see if they are able to successfully load into the game, and then we'll carry it over to that at that point in time. Like I said, though, the good thing is, hey, we have backup plans here. There are plenty of people streaming their ECL games right now through all the different divisions. So I don't know. We might just throw it to someone else who isn't necessarily having that issue. We can just wing it. We can go for it. We'll be fine. But as we continue to wait, I do know that we have the top 10 centers that we can look at here as well. We might have to throw away from it quickly if the action actually gets underway. So we'll see what direction we're going to go. Is it actually going to be puck drop, or is it going to be top 10 centers, at least for the moment? And we do have word that somebody dropped again in terms of that particular matchup. So we will, at the moment, at least talk about these top 10 centers. And Major, Potsloft in 24 took a little bit of a step back, but man, he is back in full force right now.
Yeah, took a little bit of a step back and then even took a break pretty much through the entire spring season. So he comes back and he gets right back into top form that we're used to seeing from him. But how about the two Lexas right behind him? Lexa from Goons and Lexa from Roots Gaming, both being right behind him at 2-3, two names that I feel like you typically don't hear a whole lot about in terms of the top centers in the league. Both of them right up there with Patslav at that top spot. You see Smake there at that 6th spot. We are hopefully going to see him here in a little bit, but you kind of see what he's been able to do for Falun Coal Miners, who have had a really good start. Laune having another great season from Mustakulta after being a Rookie of the Year contender last season. And then you see some of the typical names, Picardy and Benito being down there, Hatsy being there as well with 5 points. So a lot of names, again, some old, some new. It's just showing how much this division has changed over the last year.
So as we wait for a bit of a resolution to this, I think what we're going to look to do for the moment is take a step back from the booth here as we end up getting a decision from admin as to whether or not we are going to wait for the start of this series or potentially join another series in progress. So again, apologies everybody. It's obviously out of our hands in terms of the matchmaking issues with this game at the moment. But we will be right back, hopefully with the start of the Falun Coal Miners versus Mythix. And if not, we will look to bring to you another series in progress. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi. Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
I believe we are here. We are live and back on broadcast here. We are going to jump in progress. This matchup, the first game of two in the regular season battle between Mustakalta and Goons. We are going to do our best to transition over to the series. Totally unplanned, but obviously with the issues that we have currently going on between the Falun Coal Miners and Mythix, there's not too much that we can do to the contrary. But Major, we talked about Mustakalta as a good save there quite a bit in the pregame. And, you know, we have a 4-0 team here looking to make it 5-0 against the Goons team that are giving them quite a challenge. And here go Goons down the other way. Job by the defense to break that one up. And a short side attempt stopped as well. Like I said, everybody, we're going to do our best to switch everything over that we typically have on the broadcast side to cover this matchup, including, I mean, it wouldn't be a SportsGamer cast without a lovely word from Dove. For soft, resilient skin after every shave, it's Dove. And speaking of Dove, my God, how graceful of a performance in goal, back-to-back big saves for Goons. Force a reset back to neutral zone. Go ahead, Major.
Yeah, you said you talked about Goons too. Remember, this is a team that actually got relegated at the end of last season, got back to Elite from winning a qualifier a few weeks ago. So Goons, a team that has a lot to prove and is really trying to get their way back into that top tier. Doesn't feel like that long ago that you and Sin were calling them the semifinals. It's been a real fall from grace since then. This would be a massive step towards that. They can beat this Musta Kulta team.
Shot block there. Second chance doesn't go through. That one from the point does get through. A good stop. Down low in the corner here. Musta Kulta in the attacking zone. And looking to go a perfect 5-0. Kick off this season as an offside call there.
And we're kind of approaching towards the end of this third period, too. 3:15 to go, and now you're starting to get to the point where you talk about points. Remember, a massive difference between a overtime win and a regulation win. Regulation win, you get the 3 points, but if you only win in overtime, one less point on the board for one of these two teams in the standings.
Puck down low, good patience. Forced towards goal, bounces around. 2 minutes to go here in regulation. Again, the first game between Goons and Musta Kulta. Goons in their road whites for this one. Again, we are joining this series in progress due to technical issues in terms of getting into their games for the Falun Coal Miners and Mythix series. But again, a little bit later on, we will have that big-time matchup, Exen against Parasites. We'll see how this one plays out. Could be overtime. And, you know, we've called it Marathon Monday for many years now. And between the delays and getting that other series underway and then jumping into this one and potentially going straight to overtime, it would be living up to the expectations. One-timer there, greened, but blocked in front. 25 seconds left in this period. This one rockets all the way around. Kept in, Musta Kulta not able to make anything happen. Chance for Goons here late. Good job, though, on the back check. One more rush for Musta Kulta to try and win this game in regulation. 3 seconds here. The one-timer, no, it's a delayed shot, and it's blocked. So overtime coming up in the first game of 2 between Goons and Musta Kulta.
And it's interesting because both of these two teams have already played in overtime once before coming into this series. Goons would have lost, Musta Kulta would have win. So overtime, not something that these two teams are unfamiliar with so far this season, but nevertheless, big opportunity here for both to try to snag points. You mentioned Musta Kulta at that 4th spot in the standings right now, while Goons, they're in 6th, but they have played more games than any other team so far this season. So the points for them, you almost feel like a little bit more critical since there are less opportunities for them to accrue them here throughout the season now.
Have a look at the numbers there. Again, we joined this game at the start of the third period. Goons doing a good job of hanging with Musta Kulta, but we'll see who is able to get the extra point for the overtime win. Of course, 3 points for a regulation win, 2 for an overtime win, and 1 for an overtime loss. So both teams with at least a point in the bag. We'll see who's able to get that second one. Again, Musta Kulta looking to stay undefeated as we join this series in progress. And some unfortunate technical difficulties for the Falun Coal Miners trying to get their series underway against Mythix as Goons again looking for those shots through traffic, pressure in front. Pass off the mark and will go down for icing.
Big opportunity here. We talk about so many times possessions are so important. Few times are they as important as they are in overtime. Big opportunity for Goons in offensive zone face-off in overtime. Can they get that win and get a good play off of it?
In the face-off win for Mustakalta, looking to go down the other way. Movement, puck down low, good patience. Wraparound scores! Tremendous individual effort. Launinen gets the win. Mustakalta 5-0 to kick off this elite campaign.
And that's what we had just talked about, Tugi. Possessions, possessions, possessions. And it all starts with the face-off. Goons not able to win in the offensive zone. Mustakalta, a big defensive zone draw. What do? They go right down the other end, get into the offensive zone, and they get that wraparound to just sneak past Goons. That's why we say the face-off dot is so important, because it gives you that opportunity for possession. Goons didn't capitalize on it, and Mustakalta made them pay, and they get the overtime win.
So game 1 in the books. Mustakalta get the win over Goons, as we will be following, I do believe, game 2 here coming up in a matter of moments, as we'll wait to see if the teams match up relatively quickly or not. I don't think we'll have to do too much in terms of waiting, but we will see as this matchup continues on, Major. But again, what a start to the season for Mustakalta. Again, now a perfect 5-0, as hey, on the fly, all of a sudden the spotlight's on, they deliver in overtime.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate what happened with that Falun Coal Miners Mythix matchup, but we couldn't have asked for much more in compensation. A good overtime game to go ahead and get us back into action. And as you mentioned, Mustakalta starting out 5-0. What a start for this team that, as you mentioned, coming into the Elite Division for the first time. Tugi, I remember a little over a year ago when I called their Light Division Championship. Teams and stories like this are what make the ECL so special. You climb the ladder, you build your way up, and now here they are. We're talking about them with Exen, Parasite, and Voitamaton. So it just goes to show you how teams like this can climb. And for Goons, big job for them to at least get a point out of it. As we mentioned, already 8 games played. That makes it 9. They need to accrue as many points as possible. So big for them to at least snag a point out of that game against a really good team that's undefeated so far.
Absolutely. So again, game 1 of 2 in the books between Mustakalta and Goons as we swap over to cover that series. We will keep an eye out on things as we progress throughout this broadcast, especially if the Falun Coal Miners Mythic series is able to get underway. But again, for Mustakalta, very intrigued to see if, they can continue this run. Like you said, it's been a great run for them throughout these tiers, throughout these divisions. And now you get into this scenario where, it is a dream start for anybody to start off a 30-game season 5-0, even, of course, if you did not get the full 3 points for a regulation win in that last game. Still, being that tough of a team to beat is always the goal for any team starting off a season, but for Goons as well. Again, taking a team like Mustakalta to overtime. We've talked about their lineup and some of the positives to it, whether it be Kantala, Kainari, and what they've been able to do. Easy Sniper on the defensive side of things, putting up points early on. It's very promising for a team like Goons that have found themselves in and out of relegation battles for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be players like the ones you mentioned that they're really going to lean on to try to get them some of those points. Because as you mentioned, this was a team that very well was almost not in the Elite Division, took that qualifier after being relegated last season. So for them to see themselves at least getting some points to try to get themselves out of that zone, that relegation zone, really big for them early on in the season. And as you mentioned, Mustakalta just continuing to prove that they can be a playoff team. Obviously, can they do it against some of those top teams that they're near right now? That's yet to be seen so early on in the year, but still, any team in this Elite Division is tough to beat. So if you're winning games, that says something about you. It says you can contend up here.
Early chance there for Mustakolta in the road whites on this one. Goons looking to battle back. Add to the 1 point they picked up for that overtime loss in game one. One-timer and a broken stick for Alupekas. We know that is a major source of frustration for those on the competitive scene. The broken sticks, but they are an element in the game. And it prevented a good opportunity there for Mustakolta as Mise throws it up the boards. Quick job there by Mustakolta to get through. One-timer blocked and a follow-up shot just wide. They're looking dangerous on these counters. Another shot just stifled for Aro, who entered play today. The left winger of Mustakolta, 8 goals in 4 games. Opportunity, that one over the top of the goaltender. Latve was able to get a piece of it, as both goalies with some nervous moments so far, yet there is only 1 shot on goal. Corner Aro down low, nearly got the pass back from Launinen. Good stick lift there by Jamal. You could hear the contact. Ise stepping up on the forehand. Picked off down low. Chance now down that far side. Canary, presumably down low. Wraparound. Goons looking to get a little bit of revenge for the overtime winner in game number 1, but Latve is there to make the save.
Yeah, an identical play too. Counterattack from the other end. They go right behind the net and try to find that wraparound. You mentioned it. That's the exact same play that Mustakolta scored for an OT winner just now. So interesting seeing Goons go for that there.
Scramble for the puck here down low. Goons, the force in front. Launinen was there to take it away. 3 shots on goal to 0 so far for Goons. I'll look back this pass. Picked off, I should say. And in fairness, Goons might be pissed off. I mean, hey, they are the most physical team in the league, so you could say it's a bit of an anger issue there. As Alupaka's not able to get that shot through. Counterattacking opportunity for Goons, quickly stifled. See what they can do on this break-in. And a net drive. Defense was there on the collapse. Back to the point here for Jamal. Quick poke check again. Nowhere for Aro to go. They're really limiting the space that he has so far in this game. Goons shot on net. Latve's there to make the save. Makes it look easy. It deflected, actually, so not a registered shot on goal, technically.
You mentioned Goons really trying to limit Ardo's space. That's a smart way to go. Someone that's really a good goal scorer. You mentioned Goons' physicality. 207 hits in 8 games. This is just after last season. They broke the ECL record regardless of division for most hits of the season. These guys love to lay the body around, and taking that space away from Ardo plays right into their hands with that hitting.
See, this is why, in some ways, like, I'm happy doing the wraparound, but man, do I need you as a full-time contributor with the stats you're able to pick up.
I appreciate you, my friend. It's glad to be back up here with you. It's been too long.
Yeah, under 2.5 minutes to go here in the first period. Game 2. Again, it was a 4-3 overtime victory for Mustakolta in game number 1. Those that missed it, we had to switch over from our scheduled series, Falun Coal Miners and Mythix, due to some lobby issues. But upon the conclusion of this game, in a brief intermission, we'll be switching over to our second matchup of this broadcast. Exen taking on Parasite. One more chance here for Mustakolta. They score! Major, you can only shut down a player like Aro for so long. The first time he really gets any space, and he makes no mistake. A silky goal, if I dare say so myself.
Very silky. I mean, soft and resilient as well, I think you could argue, but a great play there to get Ardo in space, to give him that opportunity. You mentioned he's one of those guys to where you can only really shut him down for so long. There really isn't much shutting him down. You just have to kind of hope that you can contain him. A little bit of a break right there for Goons. Arno takes full advantage of it, gets Mustakolta a massive goal there at the end of the first period. We see so many times that those end of period goals can really change the momentum of a game. How does Goons respond now coming into the second? But nevertheless, you see him look at that replay once again. Just a little bit of space right there, right in the middle. Too much separation from the two Goons defenders. Arno recognizes it, gets that shot on, the only shot on goal from Mustakolta that whole period, and he made it count.
I mean, that's the sign of a team that can really make that strong push to the playoffs, right? If, hey, the first period doesn't quite go your way, but you still find a way to be leading. I mean, again, those are the type of teams that are able to pick up those points. And how about that, too? I mean, for Goons, Lex off to a perfect start on faceoffs, but in terms of all, you know, the time on attack and everything like that, how much of a difference is it actually making? Because Mustakolta is up 1-0. But here we go, second period ready to begin. As always, the action brought to you by our friends at Kovalan Lakritsi. And Mustakolta 5-0 on the season, looking to make it 6. They have the puck in the attacking zone here. You can see there the Goons defense really watching Loudon down low, who scored on a wraparound in overtime. As Mise, the pass over, that one hit the post. Aro from downtown. So close to getting his second of the game.
You feel like it's really important now for Goons to try to find some offensive zone time. Mustakolta, they've really found something ever since that goal from Arno. They're pouncing to start the second period. Goons has got to try to alleviate some of that pressure with some offense of their own.
That's a good one-timer there. Latve's there on the glove save, though, and Major and I got to call a game or a series for Mustakolta last week in week 1, and Latve was so impressive, and it's because of saves like that. I mean, he is definitely a goaltender to keep an eye on throughout this season and subsequent seasons.
Yeah, you feel like he could definitely be one of those next ones up, so to speak. One of those guys that can really step in and be within those top goalie conversations. We've seen a few of them step up over the last couple of seasons. Latve, I think, has his best of a case of anyone to be in that conversation, especially with the way he started the season so far.
Boards here. Alupekis looks to step in and pass it over to Jamal. It was broken up. Nisei jumps in. One-timer for Aro. Great save on the other side. And a bit of hungry hippos from Circula to cover that one.
Yeah, Circula saying, hey, now, he's not the only goalie here that can step up and really make a difference for his team. Goons has had a few really nice saves from their goaltenders so far in this game. Circula, a guy that came in at an 82 save percentage, so not shocking to see him step up in a big moment like that.
Full pressure here, but Mustakolta not able to maintain the zone. They are quickly back in. Jamal not able to hold on to it. Mustakolta will look to reset. Shots on goals certainly changing. Early stages of the second period as we have another offside call here.
Yeah, you mentioned the shots on goal there, Tugi. Just one so far in this period for Goons, while Mustakolta have had 3 shots on them, all of them pretty dangerous for the most part. So it just feels like we talked about the momentum that goal at the end of a period can do for you. Mustakolta, they're experiencing it right now, and Goons just have not really been able to find much counter.
There's a counterattack here, though, for Goons developing. 3-on-2, and a great block by Mise. A little bit too telegraphed for Goons.
There's a rule of thumb, Tugi. If we know what's happening, they 100% know what's happening. So I gotta agree with you there. A little too telegraphed there from the forward of Goons. You kind of knew that he was looking for that same shot that Arno was looking for there. Kind of held it to his forehand the entire time. Didn't really sell another move. Made an easy job for the defender to block that one away.
Soft here. Goons again able to come up with it. Looking for their first goal of this contest. Down low. Tested there. Mise able to recover the puck here with a little bit of help from Alupekis. Has it along the half wall. Not able to drag that puck with him. Broke it up. And Goons still in possession. Shot on, and excellent rebound control from Latve there to kick it out in front of him, as opposed to off to the right where there would have been a little bit more trouble.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see that there. And we just talked about Latve and how he's someone that can really step up. Remember, he is a rookie. We just saw a rookie win the Rookie of the Year last season. We've seen a couple of them win it in the past. So seeing him be able to make saves like that just kind of goes to show you what he can do.
A good save, and yeah, if I'm not mistaken, one of numerous players. He got a piece of that one too. Unbelievable. One of numerous players. I mean, we've seen it over the last couple of years, Major. The guys that have been able to make those quick step ups through the divisions to end up being a staple in the elite. And that is one of the keys for these teams that aren't the traditional powerhouses, is the scouting. Can you find those players? There's another save there for Latve. Can you find those players in pro, in light, that are ready to take that step up, like Latve is, who has now stopped all 12 shots he's faced, but Goons are going to the power play.
And that's where they found Latve, was in light. His first ever season was in Winter 24. He played in the light division, took the step up to pro division last season with Mustakulta, an 89 save percentage through 20 regular season games. Tui, that is just gaudy numbers. I mean, unreal to see any goalie at any level put up numbers like that. So it's not a surprise to see that he can hang in this division, but to start out with a 90 save percentage through 4 games, and you're seeing what he's doing so far in this game, again, the scouting from the lower divisions, that is where teams like this can make their ascent. Latve, Alupekas, players like that we're seeing make their way up started out from those lower divisions.
One timer there is saved. I believe we have a little bit of desynced audio on this one, but of course, the soft Brazilian audio, it's Dove. The power play for Goons looks to go to work. Tie this game up at 1 apiece. Shot there off the post, a scramble for it, and just wide on the far side. One timer, no, picked off by Mise. The defender going to look to try to make something happen here. And again, we do have some desynced audio here on this one. We'll keep an eye on that as this game continues on. Although the charge horn is pretty fun during the middle of the action. Final few seconds of the period. And with 3.5 to go, Mustakulta will have an ozone draw.
Just adds to the atmosphere, right? But nevertheless, going back to that power play just now from Goons, you feel like Mustakulta kind of lucky to still be up 1-0 in this game. That was a loose puck, a couple of opportunities. Goons just could not find it there. There was a sprawling Latve just looking to try to get a piece of it.
As that will do it for the second period of play. The 1-0 lead from Mustakulta still intact, despite some beautiful mountain scenery.
Why leave civilization behind?
By apparently our friends at Jeep.
When you can bring it with you wherever you go.
On one hand, I want to say we should throw it back
Jeep
to us,
Grand
but on the
Cherokee.
other, I mean, 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee, everybody.
If you're looking for a new car, there's your sign right there. Beautiful scenery, everything that you need right there. That was, we've seen a little bit of everything so far, Toogie, and we're only, an hour in?
It's been quite the hour, hasn't it? Never a dull broadcast is the reason why I have, hitched my own wagon here to SportsGamer, NHL Gamer at the time, and the continued evolution of not only the leagues, but everything else going on. As you get a little bit of a live look in there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, credit to our fabulous producer here. Falun Coal Miners and Mythix have finally been able to get their series underway, and as you can see, the first period coming to a close with Mythix leading 1-0. So throughout the probably the remainder of this broadcast, at least a good portion of it, we're going to be able to kind of keep a live look in there on that series. Great save there by Circula to kick off this third period. But yeah, we're going to do what we can to follow along with that original series that unfortunately has gotten a little bit bumped to the back burner because of some tech issues. The attacking zone here. Loose block. Good job there by Jamal to cover. Still, Mustakalta in the attacking zone. That pass off the mark. A rocketed pass down the other way. Mustakalta in control. 14 shots to 6 in Goon's favor. Down the back of the net. Lupekish for Aro. Working back to the point. Jamal down low for Aro. Again, the lone goal scorer of the game. Counter-attacking opportunity for Goons. He has the step. Saved by Latve. He was starting to go the other way, but still gets the kick save. For soft, resilient saves, it's Latve, as there is a delayed call here. Goons taking a penalty. But we'll see. If the extra attacker's needed, there might be a second penalty there. We'll see.
Well, that penalty definitely wasn't created with care, but nevertheless, a big opportunity here for Mustakalta to try to extend their lead, getting this power play. Remember, they've not had a lot of shots on net either, so this is a big opportunity. And now it's going to be a 5-on-3 after that trip.
Oh, man, what an opportunity there. Great block as the goalie was down and out. A little bit adventurous, dare I say, was the goaltender on that one.
Oh boy, adventurous indeed, and that's going to force Goons to try to settle things down and call a timeout to get some of their stamina back. It's so funny how quickly these games can turn with just one play and one mistake. Goons getting a little bit rambunctious. They get one penalty that leads to another penalty, trying to kill off that original one, and now down by one, they're having to kill off a penalty here again. So huge shift here in this game potentially for Mustakalta and for Goons. They need to get a big PK here. They're under 60% on penalty kills coming into the day.
As you see, a goal has been scored for the Falun coal miners. For now, though, a 5-on-3 power play for Mustakalta. Good pick off there for Goons, and they're able to dump it out. So again, a 1-1 score line for Falun coal miners and Mythix. And it was supposed to be our original series. Tech issues delayed that. The start of that series by a significant amount of time. Great save on the one-timer. Major, they have been trying to set up Alupekas for that one-timer all game. He finally gets it, only to be met with a great save.
And Alupekas, he has 5 goals this season, so it's not a surprise they want to set him up. But Sir Kola saying, nah, I'm right there to read it. He has been spectacular so far in this game.
And another opportunity just goes to the wayside, and Goons able to clear it out with lesser goalies, Major. I mean, this is just a shootout of a game. Instead, 9 minutes left to go in regulation, and it is still just a 1-goal game. Incredible goaltending on both sides. Here's Alupekas again. Tried to get to the short side. Defender able to keep him away. Mustakalta nearly had full pressure, but Goons back in control again. They'll reset on this break-in attempt now with just over 7 minutes to go in the period. Fortunate bounce. They're onside. Force in front. Latve hugs that post and covers.
You know, Tsugi, I think it's so fitting that Latve and Circula are playing and really taking this game over. Something we haven't gotten to talk about. These two were teammates last season for Mustakalta, and both of them are now rookies here in the Elite Division. So these two are very familiar with one another. It's just so fun to see a goalie battle, especially when there is a little bit of that friendly rivalry involved too.
It's the Olmark Swayman of the ECL Elite Division, except if both had good save percentages. A shot on save. 4.5 to go. Mustakalta looking for that insurance marker that would almost certainly secure this win for them. 3.5 now. Broken up by Mari Jamal in control here. Turns it over though. Miscommunication. Opens the door for Goons. Sisu tried that D2D one-timer, didn't go. Great hip check by Mise, but the pressure on. Factors up ahead, stepping up. It's Jamal into the play. He scores! Entered play today without a goal in his first 4 games, but Jamal steps up and doubles the lead for Mustakalta. They are on the verge of a perfect start through 6 games played. Scramble there, Latve. Able to stay in front of that one.
And Tugi, going back to that goal, how about the pass, the little saucer pass from Laune over to Jamal to make that play happen? If he doesn't get that through the defender and over his stick, that play does not happen. A beautiful pass sets up a beautiful goal for Mustakalta. Could very well get them the win, but Goon's not going away quietly here.
55.6 to go. And Goons find a way to battle back. Crazier things have happened. It is a grudge match, to say the least. My guess is that other people are watching a replay at the moment, or perhaps we have more connectivity issues. That would be an absolute shame with it being this late in the game. But if I had to guess, there we go. Well, 28 hits to 7 in favor of Goons. That's not really surprising. That was an interesting amount of time. Nearly a real-time timeout for Goons as Latve makes yet another save. Quick out down the other way. Alupactor is going to win the race to the puck. Finds Aro. Takes a hit, still in control. And reverses it. You say at the point. What a great job of walking the line. Dumped back in, just out of the reach of Launen. And again, down low. Mustakalta have Goons chasing their own tails. Aro still in control. The snap up. Jamal, slap shot, save, rebound. And circle up passes it out nearly into his own goal. Final 12 seconds. Goons looking to find one. Latve to save. An excellent job from Mustakalta. Aro denied, loose puck, and Circula covers. That will do it, though. Make it a perfect 6-0 for Mustakalta as Latve gets his first shutout in the Elite Division, and in very impressive fashion, Major.
Very impressive. I mean, an 18-save shutout for Latve, and, give Circula his credit on the other side as well. Played phenomenally, 14 saves on 16 total shots, but nevertheless, Latve just showing why he could very well be one of the best goalies in this division this season. An impressive performance from him, and Mustakalta, once again, finding their way to a victory. 5 out of 6 total points, a perfect 6-0. Really impressive what they've done here so far to start the year.
So with that, our first series is in the books as we take a look here at Mythix and the Falun Coal Miners. A 2-2 scoreline at the moment. And the numbers relatively close. Falun with a lot more time on attack. As we mentioned, we're going to do our best to keep an eye out on this series. Again, coming up a little bit later on here, not all that long from now, is the start of Exen and Parasite. Before the moment, we join this series, again, finally back in progress, 2-2, heading into the third period, as Koloslav had nowhere to go on that pass. Mythix, of course, their home blue unis for this one. A little bit of trouble. Strandmanen has a bit of a snap opportunity. Stopped by Rico. As we continue to see some strong goaltending in these matchups today. I'll be trying to find a way through. Rifles one on. Ellie Kamel able to paddle that one aside. Now Strandmanen. The one-timer. Good stop again by Rico. May have clipped the side of the cage. Down the other way. Not for too long. Falun Coal Miners looking to find a way through. Buffy denied. And the puck dumped into that far side corner. Strandmanen gives chase. Double team pressure, though. Good recovery from Smake, trying to find his way through. Now a bit of a step for Bobby down the other way. Can't hold on. And first game of 2 between these two clubs. It was a delayed start, of course. Follow along until we have the Parasite Exen matchup ready to go, or in case our producer needs a slight bit of a rest, I'd be all right with that too, just to have that opportunity to make sure everything's in order. It has been a wild broadcast to kick off this broadcasting week for us here. And Monday and Wednesdays with Elite Division coverage. 1945 CET start times for those, 1:45 p.m. Eastern. And of course, Tuesdays, our Pro Division spotlight, as well as Major. You don't see this too often. Checking from behind, a 5-minute penalty coming up on Furion. As we get a look at it there, as the captain goes to the box and sets up Mythix for a chance to run away with this game.
Boy, that is a massive penalty against Furion, who is someone that we typically don't see make those sort of mistakes, but he gets caught right there in one, and it puts his team in a really bad position against a Mythix team that can really score the puck.
Down the other way, Snake not able to get that one all the way out. A little bit of trouble with the game audio here. We'll try to get that back for you as soon as we can. The one-timer is stopped by Heli Kamel. Had trouble finding it for the cover.
I talked a little bit about how Mythix, they're a team that can really score. They struggled a little bit on the power play last season at 21%. That was a little bit lower than most of the league, but nevertheless, they're a team that has a lot of chemistry together. They brought back all of their starting forwards and defense from last season. So this is the group. They know what they want to do on that power play unit. Falun's going to have to be on their toes.
Is for Mythix. Just lost it. Great attempt for Bobby there. Still with 3 minutes to work on the man advantage. Mythix looking to get going down the other way yet again. That pass off the mark and cleared right back down by Buffy. Again, Mythix looking to find a way through, looking to take advantage of that 5-minute major, checking from behind call on Furion. And a good setup play there. Defense read it well, and Snake's able to clear that one out. Just 90 seconds to go on the man advantage for Mythix. Ducks there looking, not able to get through. Buffy clears it out again. 1 minute left now, Major.
Textbook PK so far for Falun. They're not giving Mythix any space to get a good shot on right now.
The pickoff. And at least the clear back to the neutral zone for Supremski. Space again for Mythix, and finally they find that lane they were looking for. Koloslav on the one-timer. And a power play goal for Mythix. They're up 3-2.
And that was the play, too, that they kept trying to set up. They were looking for that one-timer, especially over to the right side, the Koloslav right over at that red dot. And, you know, when you're looking for that one play, you kind of wonder after a while if you got to switch it up. Mythix kept going back to the well, and it wasn't working. But right at the end of that power play, they go to their man with that goal 20, capitalize, and get themselves the goal.
A lead now for Mythix. Again, game 1 of 2 between these two clubs as the 5-minute major expires. 1 goal allowed. It looked like Falun was going to be able to hold on. Puck down low. Down the back of the net. Coal Miners need to go to work here quickly. Pick off there by Koloslav. And a breakaway down the other way. Flying poke check from Eli Kamel. Keeps his team in an incredibly close call.
Very, very close call. And Mythix, you know, they're not done. They want to try to hunt for that last strike to really make this game out of reach for Falun Coal Miners. Well, for Falun, they're gonna have to try to get into the offensive zone. Just 3 minutes left. They cannot find themselves hemmed into their own defensive side.
There we go. Mythix in control, looking for the goal that could finish off this game. Coal Miners trying to find a way back. Stronmanen down low for Buffy. The rocket pass across. Supremski steps up but misses the puck. Koloslav drop pass and good read there by Furion. Like Ollie was on the other side, ready for that one-timer. Puck down low. 53 seconds to play. Mythix not able to get the puck out. Shot saved by Rico. Strawman back to Furion, stepping in with tired legs. Supremski on the backhand, pass off the mark. Opens up a counter-attacking opportunity for Mythix. Across and a great save by Eli Kamel. He plays it out now under 30 seconds to go. Ollie trying to find way through. And now it's a Bobby with space and speed. Good protection. 15 seconds. Another counterattack for the Coal Miners. Stronmanen. Pass over to Buffy. Lofts one across. Nobody there. And another pass intercepted. Kept in by Furion. 1 second left. The shot is stopped. And that will do it. A pretty hectic pace there at the end of that game, but Mythix hold on off the back of the power play goal. A 5-minute major. Furion's checking from behind call. Proves costly as Mythix pick up the win.
Big win there for Mythix, and you know, we talked about it, Tugi. Those 5-minute majors can just be so daunting when you take them because you're giving such opportunity for your opponent, especially one that has a lot of chemistry like Mythix, to just find something. And it took them a while. It didn't come till about 30 seconds left on that 5-minute power play. They kept trying to find that 1T. It wasn't there, but sooner than later, when you have that much time, something is naturally going to break. It did for Falun Coal Miners. Mythix took advantage. They held on the rest of the way and get 3 really critical points. Remember, Mythix kind of started out slow in the first 4 games, only 1 win in those first 4 games. So they needed these points. They get them right there. Massive victory there for this Mythix squad.
So with that, Mythix getting a win, 3 points to the good on that one. These two teams will meet one more time. And again, we'll try to cover that matchup as best we can. But again, we also have our featured matchup coming up, that between Exen and Parasite. So as we get ready for that particular matchup, we will throw it to a brief break here momentarily once we finish getting a look here at these goals. And like I said, we'll continue to follow this matchup as best we can. Again, an unfortunate delayed start, technical issues that were out of their hands. Right here, man, to not get an interception there is pretty rough. And the one-timer back the other way. Major, it certainly seems like we missed some interesting moments, especially in the first period of this contest.
Yeah, on both sides, really, because you would have thought Eli Kamel might have had that safe there on the goal before that one, but that last goal, about as clean as it gets, came off of a mistake from Furion. Great setup there for Mythix in the offensive zone to get that 1T off, clean as a whistle, and Koloslav able to take advantage using that gold 1T. We've seen that used a lot in the division over the past couple of years. It comes in the key there for Mythix to get that win. Gonna be interesting to see how this next game between these two go.
Again, we'll do our best to keep an eye on it. For the moment, though, we'll throw it to a brief break, and we will be back with all the pregame for Exen and Parasite going head-to-head in what could be a championship preview. Time will tell. We'll be right back. Stick with us.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi. makukastike maistuu parhaalta. Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Well, you ever forget to hit your mute button? Have I mentioned? Have I mentioned it has been a hectic Monday? It's the Monday of all Mondays, everybody. But hey, we're back. Thanks for sticking with us because boy, don't we need the support on this Monday. We have been put through the ringer, but we are still here. We are still trucking along, and we are just about ready to go for our third matchup of the broadcast. The way it has kind of worked out. Again, it is Exen and Parasite going head to head in our next matchup. Again, as we mentioned, we'll continue to keep an eye out on the Falun Coal Miners and Mythix game as they are playing their second. Again, it was a little bit of a delayed start tonight for that one. But before we head into kind of our head-to-head breakdowns and everything with the teams, let's take a look at the standings to see where these teams are currently through the opening week of the season. Of course, Mustakalta, we saw at least their end of the first game and second game against Goons. They are a perfect 6-0 on 16 points. But of course, Parasite and Exen are right there. Parasite also undefeated on the season, 16 goals for and 4 against Major. They're off to an incredible start and certainly not looking to slow down here tonight.
Yeah, I think pretty much what everyone has come to expect from this Parasite group. Obviously, a much different looking group than what we've seen in the past. No more Filipoica, no more Domi, two guys that have been staples, but you still have Benito, you still have Nicky Dangles. Yeah, Vatu is a part of that group. There is a lot of talent that isn't just talent, but are literally some of the best players in all of Europe and all of the world. ECL champions on this roster every single season since ECL 12. So it goes to show you how good this group is. Seeing them in Exen face off against one that is going to be a lot of fun, but it's not just going to be those two. We know Voit the Baton's going to have something to say about it, and obviously it's early. You don't want to get too ahead of yourself, but Mustakalta starting out 6-0, 16 points so far, 21 goals, only 8 against in those 6 games. Extremely impressive. I know a lot of people kind of have those two penciled in to be in the final, but don't necessarily Sharpie it in. There's some competition there within that top 4 that could maybe catch these guys by surprise. Obviously, that's the long view, but so far, really impressive start to Parasite, what they've been able to do. Pretty much what a lot of people, I think, expected of them to come into this season.
So with that, let's get a look here at the team stats. Again, 4 games for Parasite, 6 for Exen in a 30-game regular season. Of course, I already mentioned the tremendous goal differential that Parasite have thus far, bolstered by a perfect power play and penalty kill. Major for Exen, it's now one of those situations where it's like, all right, hey, we're still winning games, 3rd in the league right now, but all things considered, I think, they're going to want to tighten things up a little bit. It's a bit surprising to only see them with a +3 differential.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part isn't even the goals for. I mean, you see that they have the same amount as Parasite does, so it's not that they haven't been able to score. It's more or less been a problem of keeping the puck out of their own net, and it's been a little bit inconsistent. I'm looking at some of their games, 3 goals allowed, 5 goals allowed. The rest of them, it's been around that 1 to 2 range. So it's really just, can they get the consistency going in their own end? That's going to be a massive key against this Parasite team. We've seen over the years, Tugi, these guys will capitalize on the littlest of room and the just slightest of mistakes. Exen is going to have to make sure they can play a full 60 minutes defensively. If they don't, Parasite's going to take advantage of it.
Well, with that, let's take a look here at the lineups for this matchup. For the Exen side of things, it is Landstrom, Pikari, and Moja as the front 3, with Domi and Wenger on defense, and Bennu between the pipes on the other side. Vatu, Benito, and Nicky Dangles, with Tombo and Temu on defense and Nikke between the pipes. Star-studded lineups in this one. Let's take a look at the centers. Pikari versus Benito. And obviously, with these two, you are talking about two of the very best that this division has to offer. But it's a little bit surprising then for that reason that the scoring isn't, a little bit higher so far for these two.
Yeah, especially for Benito, who has been one of the points leaders for, seasons upon seasons, it feels like, right? 7 points in 4 games played for him feels a little bit low, especially when you consider the fact that Parasite, they've scored 16 goals in those 4 games. So he hasn't really had a whole lot to do with the offense. Kind of surprising to see that early on. It's really been Nicky Dangles and Vatu that have gotten a lot of the scoring going, but I think that's going to change sooner rather than later. Benito is one of those guys to where he doesn't necessarily try to force himself into the offensive play. It comes as it does. He plays his role. It might not always lead to the most points, but he is a player that where really no matter what the stats look like, he is impacting the game. Really, it's Pikri. I think on the other side, it's kind of surprising because with Benito, he's played 4 games and has 7 points. Pikri's barely averaging a point per game, and that's a little bit surprising for someone that, as we mentioned, has been one of the best centers in the league for a really long time and has had a history of being a really good point producer and someone that can step a lot of plays. Maybe not someone that will be in the top 10 in points every year, but someone that definitely I think is capable of a little bit more than what we've seen in these 6 games. So not to call the guy out by any stretch, Pikri, extremely talented player, but someone that I think that we may have expected a little bit higher of a point total considering those 6 games played for this Exen team.
Next up, we'll take a look here at the winger comparison. Again, Landstrom and Mozia for Exen. On the other side, it is Vatu and Nicky Dangles. And of course, Major, as you mentioned, this is where we are seeing a good amount of the point production for both teams. Is there anything in particular that stands out here aside from just all 4 of these guys are incredibly offensively capable?
Balanced goal scoring, I think, really is the big thing on the Parasite side. You see Vatu with 6 of the goals, Nicky with 5 of them. So it's not just one or the other. Both of them are really stepping in and contributing. You see the shot totals, too, very balanced between the two, 19 compared to 16. On the other side, though, how about the hit difference from Moja compared to everyone else around him? 35 hits in 6 games played. Lundstrom only has 10. Neither of the wingers on the Parasite side even have double digits. So Moja brings a little bit of a physical presence, and that's going to be really interesting to look out for, especially against a player in Vatu that you have to remember he played with for a significant amount of time. He knows this group on the other side very well. Could that physicality maybe impact things a little bit, especially for, as we mentioned, 2 wingers that have been a vast majority of the offensive production for Parasite? So just a small little detail there, but something to look out there from that right wing in Exen.
Next up, our defensive comparison for this matchup. Again, for Exen, it is Domi and Wenger. On the other side, Tombo and Temu. And what a bizarre sight that is. I don't really think it properly registered until this moment, but it was Tombo and Wenger who bolstered that defense pairing for Tunnel Vision for seasons. And of course, Domi and Temu, a former longtime defense pair as well. What a just bizarre scene this is, as the ECL scene has been shuffled, it feels like.
And Tsugi, I kind of just recognized something as you were talking about that. Literally, all you would have to do is just switch Tombo and Domi, and they would have the exact same shirts on, and it shows you that they were teammates and defensive partners for the last few seasons. Domi and Temu with Atreds and Valakoitinen for so long, and then Tombo and Wenger with Tunnel Vision for so long. It's so crazy how much the scene has really shifted, not even just within the past year, within the past 3 or 4 months. Remember, Tombo and Wenger had just won a title together last season. Domi and Temu won a title together the season before. So it just goes to show you how much things have shifted. I think it's interesting to see Domi and Wenger together, 2 guys that really have been 2 of the best defenders in the world for a long time. And obviously Tombo, who used to have Wenger at that right side for so long, being put with a much different style of defender in Temu, someone that can be a little bit more aggressive than what we saw from Wenger in the past. So just seeing these 2 kind of switch roles almost is going to be really interesting, because we were so used to seeing those 2 defensive pairings being staples for their team, staples of the division, and now Domi and Tambu, two guys who were the best left D in the world, arguably, definitely in the ECL, pretty much switch. So it's going to be interesting to see for the first time in person how that affects things and how those roles are kind of altered compared to what they've been for those two over the last 2 or 3 years.
And of course, our final head to head, it is the battle of the goaltenders. Bennu against Nike, two of the very best that the elite division have had to offer for the last couple of years, especially. And of course, Nike, someone that we looked at, very similar. You mentioned Latve and some of these other goalies that have been taking a step up. They're following essentially in someone like Nike's footsteps, who, was able to make that step up, able to become one of the best goaltenders the elite division has ever seen. And through 2 games so far, off to a very good start. But Benno on the other side, no slouch either. Somebody that we listed as like, oh man, a top team should probably pick this guy up instead of him being on a, bubble playoff team. And yeah, he is good enough to backstop a team to great success. This is a great matchup here.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Nike, right? One of the best in Europe for really years upon years now. Didn't play last season, comes back this season to join this Parasite squad. And I mean, man, what an addition this is for Parasite. Just someone that has constantly been able to carry his team through certain stretches, right? And you're seeing it through 2 games at 90 save percentage. And he's not the only one back there. You have to remember, they have Finsterde pairing with him. So 2 stellar goalies for this Parasite team. While on the other end, we talked about Bennu. It just felt like he was someone that deserved that shot, right? He had been kind of stuck with teams that had been in that mushy middle relegation zone area for really a few years. Remember the YMCA Esports days? Bennu was one of the more underrated goalies with a team that really could not seem to find their way into that next level. Television gives him a shot. He takes full advantage of it. A big reason they won that title last year. And now here he is being talked about as one of the best goalies in all of the ECL divisions. So this is going to be a really intriguing matchup. Bennu versus the goalie that kind of passed the torch over to him in tunnel vision. Both of these guys should step up and give us a lot of big plays today. I'm expecting it.
So with that, we should be just a few moments away from the action getting underway. Again, the 2-game regular season matchup between Exen and Parasite, 2 teams certainly with championship aspirations for this elite season. And again, we'll see just hopefully how long it takes to get this action underway. Hopefully not that long. Although, hey, we have been met with some surprises as well. It has been a fun broadcast, a hectic broadcast in some ways. But again, we are here every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to follow along. Of course, Tuesday, our Pro Division Spotlight, and we'll be here tomorrow as well, 1945 CET, 1:45 p.m. Eastern, for those of you on the NA side of things that like to follow along. Ourselves here included, of course. But very intrigued to see how this matchup is going to go, Major. We kind of talked about it when we looked at the standings. They're right in the mix. You have a team like Voitamaton who are off to a good start, and then you have a bit of an X factor with Mustakalta being 6-0 as well. Without tunnel vision, being here, it's one of those things where that top spot is up for grabs. And certainly, if you're one of these 2 teams where the vast majority of the players from tunnel vision landed, they want to get right back to the top of the mountain. But there are going to be those teams like Voitamaton that feel like, oh man, this is our opportunity. Like, it is our time to get back to said top of the mountain. As we get a look here at the teams in the lobby, no real surprise. I mean, on the forward side, of course, a lot of 1T, very defensively, responsible playmakers as well. Down the middle, Mage, anything stand out to you that I might be missing here?
Nothing really that I'm seeing, honestly, too. Again, I mean, a lot of the kind of typical builds that you see, puck on a string for the 2 centers, that's playmaker builds, those 1T options on each wing, and then, again, back on defense, just kind of that responsible defensive role being kind of taken upon. So I feel like a lot of it what you would typically see from the players on both these two sides. And I think that's what you can expect to see, even though some of the lineups and names have shifted around for both. I think it's not too surprising to see all of these players, despite some new homes, kind of staying to their identity and just fitting within what this tier is that they have gone within their new squad.
So I suppose my question, and this is for people in the chat as well that have been playing games. I have not played any club games in the past couple of days. Is Grudge Match broken again? Or are people just forgetting to turn it off? I am getting word that apparently it is broken again. Which I'm sure everybody involved in leagues are just ecstatic about it being broken again. But regardless, we love a good grudge match, don't we?
Who doesn't?
Face off
Grudge
here.
matches, Dove, Jeep Cherokees.
Yeah. Spider-Man toys for Christmas. all the good stuff. As Exen here on the attack for the first time in this game. We'll find that way through. Elmi and Wenger both incredibly patient with the puck, but not afraid to chip in offensively. There's the deflection. A little bit of trouble there for Teemu, but very wisely stayed flat-footed to not get any incidental contact with Nike in goal. Atu down low for Benito. And some broken glass there. Major, we've seen the broken sticks. We've seen the broken glass. We've seen broken grudge match. All the things that competitive players love about this game.
And don't forget, Tugi, we've seen broken lobbies and broken games as well. Everything's broken here but our broadcast. I love it. We are just topping everything here. Love to see it.
It's a short side shot snagged out of the air by Bennu. Second shot on goal. Again, looking to keep the undefeated pace going at the start of this season. Face off one clean by Pikari, and see what Exen can do. They go for the dump and chase play. Landstrom chasing. Pikari was there as well. Robbed though by the Parasite defense. Battle for the puck. It is going to be Pikari that comes up with it, if I'm not mistaken. Even Bentomi pinching in. There's Pikari down low. Golden helmet wearing Mozia. They use the boards. A little bit of trouble. Stretch pass. Nicky dangles and a one-on-one. Execute possession. He pass. Teemu. Nicky dangles down low. Quickly in front. Second opportunity. But not much Benito could do in terms of getting some power on that shot.
And boy, advantage Parasite to start this game. They have really controlled the flow of it so far. Exen have not really had much of anything offensively, and it feels like they've just kind of started this one on their heels. Parasite would love to probably take advantage of it and get a goal with this momentum on their side right now.
As Exen back in control as we reach the halfway point of this first period. Parasite back in possession, fed up ahead to Teemu. Does a good job of maintaining control. That one bounces around. Here for Parasite, good patience. A little bit of trouble for Benito down low. Loose puck, and Nicky Dangles just couldn't get it to the backhand for that shot. Loose puck over to the far side corner. Landstrom avoids pressure. Bo was there to take it away. Exen stepping up. Oh, not able to make that pass down the boards. Puck just continuing to bounce around. Quick possession changes. Nicky Dangles just tried to brute force his way to the front of the goal. As Exen get that zone entry. Parasite, though, doing a good job of stifling them. Exen still looking for their first shot on goal. Parasite will have to recover here. Combo looking to lead the way. Former captain of Tunnel Vision. Multiple-time champion. There's a lot of ECL Elite Division championships on the ice in this matchup. Combo again. Temu riding forward. He drives to the net. Short side attempt. Puck still loose as Exen come up with a great individual effort from Temu.
Exen's got to find something new offensively. Parasite's just pretty much been pouncing on them this entire game. I can't remember the last time Exen's really had a controlled possession in the offensive zone.
Well, Major, it goes from bad to worse, doesn't it? A tremendous tic-tac-toe goal. It's Benito in front. And Parasite find the breakthrough in a period where, as you mentioned, they've mostly been controlling the play.
Yeah, and a beautiful pass there, too, to get that set up over to Benito in the middle. And, you know, we talked about Benito. He's not someone that's going to try to force his way into the offense. Things just kind of come naturally for him. He makes sure he's at the right place at the right time. He plays a part of the system that Parasite has always really enacted. And if the points come, great. If they don't, then they don't. They haven't to start the season, but they do to start this game. A big goal for Parasite and a well-deserved one. As I was mentioning, they've really controlled this game. And Exen, no response for it so far.
Benito entered play today, 3 goals in 4 games. Miscommunication here, or at the very least looking to kill the time. The clock is lower. I realize, so it is a 1-0 lead for Parasite. At the end of one, the goal from Benito took a big hit here that ended up breaking the glass, but he also broke the tie and gets the game's first goal. See it again right here.
Yeah, and again, just a great pass there over from that right side to make that play happen. Now it's Nicky Dangles that hit Benito, and we've seen that so many times over the years. Nicky Dangles hitting Benito or vice versa, where Benito finds Nicky Dangles on a play. And, you know, they've been one of the more iconic duos in this division for a long time. It shows up there, and you saw just a little bit of a step up there defensively from one of the Exen defenders. Left that space in the middle for Benito to get hit with that pass. Nicky Dangles does so to perfection, and Parasite takes advantage. And it's interesting because there's only a 2-second difference in time of attack, dude. It doesn't really feel like it, just because it feels like Exen's time on attack hasn't been dangerous at all. But the time of possession has been there for Exen, just haven't been able to find the opportunity. So give Parasite some credit, doing a really good job of shutting Exen down and not giving them much space to work with.
Second period underway, and a near goal there for Vatu. It's going to result in a penalty shot. I believe just 27 seconds into the period, and I mean, he was fully behind the defense. So we'll see what happens here. The action, of course, always brought to you by our friends at Falun. Thank you very much for interrupting that, but here we go. Penalty shot, one-on-one with Bennu. He scores! Major, great effort from Bennu there, but an even better shot, and Parasite double up on the lead.
And boy, going back to that penalty, that tripping call from behind, definitely a penalty shot, but you wonder if you maybe just trust your goaltender to make that save. He had that right post covered pretty well. There wasn't really a lot of space for Vatu to make a move. He was pretty much hemmed over to that left side, so I'm not really sure if that's a penalty that you would like to take. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20, but nevertheless, Parasite takes advantage. Vatu gets it in past Bennu, and it leads to a goal. So now Exen really behind the 8 ball here, just trying to find something to get going.
Parasite up 2. Exen still looking for their first shot on goal, as nearly a 3rd strike for Parasite. Low shot. Bennu keeps that one out. Exen can get going here. Trouble on the break-in once more. And Major, you kind of mentioned it. There is some zone time for Exen, but not a ton of it's threatening. It's a lot of being held to the perimeter. That's what they're able to do here. And again, forced to the perimeter, and Temu takes care of him along the boards. And again, Temu's everywhere right now.
Switch that up. They're going to have to switch that up. They keep trying to work it on the boards and the wings, but they're going to have to try to work it to the middle or try to ask their defenders to do a little bit of carrying, because right now, those passes over the boards are getting shut down immediately by Parasite.
Movement here in the attacking zone. A shot on. Bennu able to get a piece of it. The deflection bid in front. And the only banned ability for this season, Big Tipper, both gold and silver. I mean, you won't still see some deflection goals this year. As Wenger not able to find a pass. Parasite again on the counterattack. Tamu and Nicky Dangles going to work. Vatu's shot blocked by the traffic in front. Forced to drop it back. Tamu on the forecheck. Benito steps up, gets to the forehand, was a little bit delayed. Being able to shoot, that likely saved a goal. What a job, though, by Tamu, the defenseman in the attacking zone on the forecheck. There's Benito to Nicky Dangles. He got a piece of it. Played out by Bennu. It's straight into full pressure here for Parasite. Combo stepping in. Penalty called on Exen. It goes from bad to worse. As Tamu is past the combo, doesn't go. Nikke has to play all the way back to his own zone. But the extra attacker is out. And the extra attacker's offside.
And, you know, Tugi, we've talked about it. It feels like ad nauseum in this game, but 10-0 in shots in favor of Parasite. And you mentioned that the penalty takes things from bad to even worse now for Exen as Picardy heads to the box. So not only are you losing a man, but you're also losing your center right down the middle. That'll force Mosley to take the face-off against Benito and also forces off one of your better defensive players in Picardy. So really interesting to see how this goes. This feels like a must-kill right now for Exen.
Parasite. Picture-perfect power play on the season. And a good read by the defense. Thrown back in front. And Mozia able to send that one all the way down. How much time is left on the main advantage here, but onside for Parasite. Combo looking. Switch with Tamu. Tamu tried to go in front. Mosey able to break that one up. One-timer, good blocker stop by Bennu. Down low, Tamu again able to keep this one alive. Steps in, it's in front. Nicky Dangles backhand stop by Bennu. Still Parasite in on the attack. Combo for Benito. Looking, couldn't get it to Vatu. Puck is not cleared as we are back to 5-on-5. First successful kill of the Parasite power play as compared to the start of the season. Here's Vatu again. What a move. The stride to the right, tries the short side. Bennu stuck with him. 13 shots to 0. Nicky Dangles steps up in the neutral zone and taken away. Tried to go backhand. Benito scores! Kicking the corner, 3-0. It is all Parasite here in game number 1.
And it was the pressure, Tuki, that made the play for Parasite unrelenting as Exen tried to break it in past the blue line. They never really could. Parasite kept the pressure, and Benito, goal number 2 for him. It's interesting, you would have figured that Bennu moved a little bit off of that left post. He didn't, he stayed still. Just Benito able to pick the corner perfectly. Close quarters helping him out a little bit with that silver ability. And it puts Parasite up 3-0 in a dominant performance over Exen right now.
As they finally get their first shot on goal. And Nikke makes the glove save. Tough for a goalie to make that stop after seeing so little action throughout the game.
38 minutes and 16 seconds. That's how long it took.
It's a 3-0 lead now for Parasite. At the point, now into the slot, back across. Great block there by Tamu. Feeds Nicky Dangles. Now Tamu in behind with speed. Draws the call. Parasite go back to the power play. Bad news for Exen.
Yeah, Parasite has just infected Exen in pretty much every phase of the game. No offense, lapses on defense, undisciplined penalties. And you feel like that one was just a product of Exen trying to get something going, trying to force a turnover. And unfortunately for them, it leads to another penalty, and now Parasite able to potentially stretch this lead out even bigger. And it's late in the second period, just 12 seconds left, so they're not even going to get the benefit of the fast period either.
And they score! A hat trick for Benito here in game number 1. Parasite are running away with this game.
I can't say I had this on the bingo card, Tugi. We've seen a little bit of everything, but I didn't think that this would be something we see. Parasite playing, I mean, near perfectly, and I don't think that it's a surprise to see them playing this way, but just the discrepancy right now between these two teams. Parasite looks on a different level from Exen at the moment, and a lot of it has to do with Parasite playing as well as they are, but Exen not playing at a level that they're capable of by any stretch of the imagination. You have to play almost perfectly against a team like Parasite, and boy, will they make you pay if you don't.
Benito took some offense, late chance here with a second to go. Easy glove save for Nikke, but Benito seemingly taking some offense to us mentioning that he was barely over a point per game compared to the wingers of Parasite, because he has taken over a hat trick in less than 2 periods of play. 4-0 for Parasite. We still have the 3rd period to go, but it was this goal here off the great feed in front, and what a performance this has been. Major, I mean, at this point, you're talking about for Exen, like, you're just going to find some building blocks heading into the next game, because Parasite just steamrolled you in that 2nd period.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where this has reached, is what can you find here for this next game that you can maybe take advantage of? And, you know, I feel like a lot of these goals have just been products of mistakes, really, from Parasite. I mean, 3 of their goals have come on either power plays or penalty shots. Their opening goal came on defensive laps. A lot of it has been Exen kind of just shooting themselves in the foot. And then you capitalize, or you kind of compare that as well with what they've done, or what they haven't done, rather, on the offensive end. Lapses, defensive penalties, and then no offense. That's a recipe for disaster against any elite team, let alone one like Parasite.
And another goal in the 1st minute of a period. Nicky Dangles joins in on the fun. 38 seconds into the 3rd. It is a rout for Parasite.
I don't think anyone expected this, Tootie. I mean, we talked about this matchup coming in, how this could very well be a potential finals preview. I mean, this is, you said it, this is a rout. This is an absolute rout that Parasite is putting on Exen. And for Exen, I think right now, you're just trying to find answers on how you can slow this thing down. You have a whole other game to play after this. So a lot of things that need to be figured out, a lot of questions for Exen that are going to have to be answered. This is a demoralizing start right now in this series.
Quick goals for Parasite. Penalty trouble for Exen. 16 shots to 1, as the shot at the end of the 2nd period was after the horn sounded. I mean, this is, at least for us here, quite the surprise, to say the least. I mean, Parasite performing very well, certainly. But this is the type of scoreline that you might expect to see Parasite have against teams that are struggling to hold on in the Elite Division. Not a team like Exen, who currently, entered play today in 3rd in terms of total points, and again, were viewed as a and still are viewed as a serious contender, although I do wonder how many opinions might be different after a game like this. It is going to be up to Exen here to kind of get that narrative back to where they want it to be. We're going to have another little restart here.
You're coupling that with a slow start. Remember, Exen, they lost 2 games, both in regulation to start out the season. Now, granted, they were both 1-goal losses, but they lost to 2 teams that are kind of expected to be towards the lower end, or not lower end, but kind of battling for those last playoff spots. So it's really surprising to see Exen play the way that they have to start the season, but to this extent, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, Parasite has been amazing, and they deserve all the credit in the world for that. But I think the bigger story is more or less the lack of play that we've seen from Exen, just as much as it is how much Parasite has really dominated and taken this game over.
So with that, yeah, we're going to get word here about what went down and what the teams are going to do here in terms of a restart. And, while we wait for that, we will actually throw it over to a quick word from our sponsor. We'll be back with the continuation of that game and the continuation of this series. So stick with us here.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Get a look here at the intro for this. Of course, it is going to be a restart here, so it will be the first period being the third period, in which, again, Parasite are up 5-0 in this game. Again, barring a ridiculous comeback, it will just be the first period here. I mean, Major, you hate to say it for a team of the caliber of Exen, this just feels like a technicality to, you know, get through this, and then, hey, the next time, let's, you know, really get our best foot forward. But we talked about the building blocks. We'll see if they're able to do anything, but this is not the way I'm sure they wanted even the restart to go, as Parasite are established in the ozone. That one's picked off. Let's see what Exen can do. They work the middle a little bit more as Nike plays it out, not too worried about his stats. Just wants this game to get over with.
First time we've seen them rework that middle too.
It's been a wild day. I just realized they used the word technicality for formality. With the way Parasite are playing, it feels like a fatality. They have just absolutely handled Exen. And to be honest, if you're Exen, I mean, I'm sure you would have rather preferred a little trip to the spike pit as opposed to having to restart and play out this third period as it gets worse. Nicky Dangles, 6-0 for Parasite in the first game of 2. And if you're Exen, I'm sure not running into Parasite again this season would be preferred.
Yeah, if you don't mind enjoying the fun, Tugi, this feels like a display of brutality right now that Parasite is putting on Exen. And, you know, you mentioned that you hate to be so hard on a team like Exen with just so much high caliber talent on this roster. I mean, really, this is an accomplished team with a lot of accomplished players, and to see the result end up being this lopsided is just honestly stunning. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know Parasite, as elite as they come, I mean, championships upon championships on this lineup, but for it to be this lopsided, I mean, Parasite looks like they are in a completely different league right now from Exen. Just stunning.
It's here for Exen. They got it in front. Finally get the shot off. Nikke is there for the save. Again, this is technically the third period of play. There was a restart. And just the first game of two between these two teams, as we will see if there is a pushback at all from Exen. But here come Parasite yet again. Nicky Dangles a swing and a miss. Now down the other way. That's down low. Nowhere to go. This one through the point. Short side shot stopped by Nikke. Again, it's almost easy to forget here. I mean, it's been a runaway performance for Parasite, but then you look at the lineup and you remember the names in the lineup for Exen. It's just such a shocking result here in this first game.
And that's what makes it so stunning. I mean, Moja, Domi, Piketty, Vanger, Bennu, I mean, these are champions. I mean, these are guys that have won championships and have played against and beaten guys on the other side. That's what makes this so shocking. I mean, this is not like a team that everyone expected to struggle and is going to end up finishing 16th. This is, again, an Exen team that people felt like were a championship threat, could very well be playing Parasite in the final in a few months' time. And yet here we are. Parasite's up 6-0, and they've only allowed, what, two shots on net in total? Just stunning. Absolutely unreal what we've seen from both sides.
Yeah, 3 shots on the restart. I believe it was still 1, if not 2, before the restart. In total, as Benito can't get that shot off. And you know, sometimes when you have the divide like this, one side gels a little bit better than the other. On the point. That is what we have seen in this one so far. 5.5 minutes to go here. And again, what is the third period of play. There have not been 6 goals on one shot. I'd like to see that happen someday because that would be madness. Got a chance here, and Atsu couldn't get to the backhand. Parasite obviously showing no mercy in this one. Just going to casually stroll to the end of this game. One bounces around. Here's Vatu now under 3 minutes to go. Heimu stepping up as he did so often throughout the first 2 periods of play. Hold up there for Lundstrom. Sends it to the far side corner. Nobody there. Does catch that one at the blue line, but is offside.
Just 1:41 to go, as you mentioned, Tugi, and I feel like right now for Exen, you're kind of just looking towards that next game and trying to see what you can adjust. I mean, they got 3 shots on net, which is great. They've only allowed 1 for Parasite, so I mean, we're seeing some incremental levels of improvement, but again, I think you're just kind of going through the motions right now and looking forward to that next game, just trying to see what you can adjust to maybe make that one more competitive.
And there is a goal. Exen on the board. Moja finds the back of the net and ruins the shutout for Nikke in the final minute. Indeed, there is perhaps a bit of a building block for Exen heading into the next game. They have proven that they can score a goal. They need to find a way to stay out of the box and prevent those incredibly early goals that continue to propel Parasite forward. Atu holds this one in. That will do it. It will be a 6-1 final in game number 1. Parasite picking up the W and the 3 points for the regulation win in the game that, after that first period, I mean, it could have been close, and then second period onward, Major, never in doubt.
Yeah, that second period really felt like the turning point. And, you know, the first period, it was a rough one for Exen, obviously. They didn't have a whole lot of opportunities. The penalty shot that they gave up was, or excuse me, the first goal that they gave up with Benito, not one that you obviously would like to, but it felt like after the penalty shot, that's where things really changed. Getting that goal from Vatu to make it 2-0, and then Parasite just kind of jumped on Exen half point forward, and they were controlling the game. It kind of felt like the pace of the game and the style of the game favored towards Parasite, and it made Exen a little bit uncomfortable. But really, after that second goal, things just completely unraveled for Exen, and Parasite just took full advantage of it. So give them a lot of credit. They did what they needed to do. Whether or not they can do it a second game, we'll see, but a lot to work on here for Exen over the next couple of minutes during the break. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion on what they need to change, what they need to adjust. For Parasite, I think they just want to keep doing the exact same thing they just did. So going to be interesting to see how this game number 2 unfolds, just considering how lopsided this game was, not just in terms of score, but just in terms of the play from both sides as well.
So with that, game 1 in the books. Again, we'll throw it over to a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll be back. Game number 2, Parasite and Exen, still to come.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi. Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Back and surprising to me, ready to go. I thought we might even get a look at the teams in the lobby. No, Major, we are ready to go. It is game number 2. Parasite, fresh off the back of a 6-1 victory in their road whites, taking on Exen, and we will see what kind of response there is from Exen in this one. And already, clearly more of a willingness to throw pucks on net and try to get some momentum.
I think that's exactly what you got to do if you're Exen. Just try to find something. You never know what might bounce your way. Just get some shots on. I think they lacked that really to start out that first 2 periods. Did a little bit more of it in the third of that last game, but really need to put more of an emphasis on firing it on that.
Good job by Batu staying on side there. It's an underrated skill, especially from players on Parasite, the way they're able to extend these plays. Here comes Exen, though, down the other way. Held at the point, forced in front, defense able to handle it. Caught move, Nike just takes that one away as Pikari really found himself in a great position to score. Nicky dangles down the other way. Another opportunity. Exen able to survive. Both teams a shot on goal here in the early stages. And our 4th and final game of the broadcast, although you could argue it's technically, what, our 5th or 6th, based on some of the technical difficulties we've had today. Again, though, there will be a Pro Division Spotlight cast tomorrow, as there is pretty much every Tuesday, 19:45 CET start time, and 45 p.m. Eastern, the North American side of things, and then we have more Elite Division coverage on Wednesday at the same time. This is our opening broadcast of Week 2 coverage. In case you missed all the action of week number 1 throughout the entirety of the ECL. What an individual effort there. Great stop by Nike. Make sure to check out the Wraparound, our weekly recap show. That'll be up on the YouTube side of things at SportsGamer. GG is a swing and a miss there for the 1T. And Exen doing a slightly better job. I mean, it's a relatively low bar to clear, but giving up a ton of chances and getting some shots on Nike, which they need to do, and forcing him to cover that puck.
I think the big story right now is they've really been able to kind of slow Parasite down in terms of their offensive output. Sure, Parasite's had a little bit of offensive zone time, but only 1 shot on net so far through about 13 minutes. Well, Exen has gotten 4, so we've seen them be able to adjust a little bit. Now, can they see the fruits of their labor a little bit here rewarded with a goal of their own and taking the lead?
Good movement here, puck down low. Tamu was circling around. Back to the point, wanted Tombo. Parasite, dump and chase here, perfectly done. It angles back to the point. Tombo evading pressure. Batu. Ended off for the moment, cleared out there on the hit from Mozia. But still, it's Parasite in control. Again, Tombo circling, tried to fire one on for the deflection. Exen struggling to get control of the puck. They finally do. And now down the other way with a bit of speed. Slot forced in front, nobody there. The opposition is Tamu. Stepping up, Slick with the puck, still in control. One-timer save, second chance denied as well. Good set of saves there by Benno. I believe only 1 registered as a shot, but a great individual effort. Final minute of play here in the first period, fast-paced. Go down low to the slot, off the post. Nicky dangles. Nearly had the breakthrough, and Major. It can happen that quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't take long and it doesn't take much. That's the thing about this game, is you never know when that breakthrough can happen. It just takes that one opportunity. Nice drop there from Bennu, making a critical save at a big point. Because remember, it was a late goal last time from Parasite. They gave them a 1-0 lead at the end of the first. Nice drop there from Bennu.
Last chance, shot block, second chance, they score. As Benito is taking over. Scores with less than a second on the clock. And Parasite finding a way, as they so often do.
And Tugi, we talk about it all the time. You put the puck on net and good things can happen. That's what happened right there. The original shot on, hits in front. Benito, right place, right time to put that one in on the second chance opportunity. And that's the thing with Benito. He might have not had the most points coming into this game, but again, his points come from just the product of the system. Being opportunistic, being at the right place at the right time. Sometimes it's him, sometimes it's Nicky. In the past, it could be Vatu or Villapoica. You just never know who's going to be the benefactor of the way Parasite plays. Today, it's been all Benito all the time. It's another late goal, gives Parasite a 1-0 lead after, honestly, I thought Exen, for the most part, had played pretty well in that first period and arguably outplayed them at points, but yet Parasite gets that opening goal with just less than a second remaining.
Teams even in shots. Time on attack was closer. But Parasite, again, another late goal. We get one more look at it. The shot blocked. And just perfect for Benito to get the pick over Wenger. Parasite picking up where they left off. A 1-0 lead at the end of the first period in both games. Second period is when they took over. We'll see if they can do so again as the action resumes. Again, as always, ECL action brought to you by our friends at Covalon Lakritzi. As Parasite, a perfect 5-0, looking to make it 6-0, matching the pace of Mustakolta, who are still undefeated as well. Batu back to combo at the point, circling. A space to work with for the former captain of Tunnel Vision. Temu nowhere to go on that one. It's up Exen with speed, and Benito swoop in and take it away. Venga. Moja, Landstrom nowhere to go. Does get it back. Moja in front, taken away. It's all the way through, actually. Shot from Wenger blocked. Moja, the lone goal for Exen. In game one, that pass off the mark and will force a reset.
Much better start to this period compared to the last game for Exen. We saw Parasite take over with a quick goal just a few minutes in. Exen is kind of stymied things. They're keeping themselves in it, and this is exactly what they needed.
Close call there for Nikkei as he plays it out to Tombo. I mean, that shows the mindset here for Parasite. They want fast pace. Their confidence in Nikkei. Distribute the puck well. And they'll get an attacking zone face-off here.
It feels like this has gone to a little bit of a slower game because that's what Exen wants, right? They want to slow Parasite down. They don't want the chaos in the back and forth. We saw what can happen when Parasite can establish that game style.
Batu for combo at the point. Not able to find a pass. And good for Moja. Has a bit of space. Toe drag and loses it on the back check. Moja 7 goals in his first 6 games. Leading goal scorer for Exen. Great job here by Vatu. Benito throws one on. Benu able to keep it out. Great saucer pass up for Landstrom. Pops down. We got it back. Defense again there to take it away. And that's the thing about this Parasite lineup. And as we know about the likes of really the front three in general, they're all so defensively solid. And that is the key to success in this division. Solid foundational two-way play is that one of Exen's best chances of this game. It angles. Behind Benito, down low for Vatu, stripped of the puck. Parasite still in possession. Outside attempt from Nicky Dangle, stopped by Benu. Exen down the other way with 6 minutes to go here in the period. That shot fired wide. Parasite will get a chance to get the break in here. Excellent pass from Combo. Batu's pass picked off. Exen able to find that outlet pass. This one sent all the way around. Wenger's there, fends off a hip check. Exen trying to find space. Moving at the blue line, Exen still in control. Puck knocked loose a couple of times. Van Gooder back to the forehand. Fischer looking to step in, has Van Gooder down low. Armstrom looking, and nowhere for Peakery to go on that one. Zone time for Exen. They were finding success with that as well upon the restart, throwing the puck on more often.
Yeah.
20 seconds left in the period. Nicky Dangles reverses. Tamu steps in. Down low for Vatu with speed. It was knocked loose. 3 seconds left. Tamu's shot bounces. That will do it for Exen. They are able to withstand the attack, but Parasite still leading by 1.
Yeah, and I didn't want to interrupt the flow since Parasite looked like they had a good shot, but, you know, you mentioned it too. It felt like Exen had some success early on, putting the puck on net and trying to just find something. And it seems like ever since around midway part of the first period, they've kind of just strayed away from it, and I'm not sure exactly why. It feels like if you put the puck on net, something might happen. Parasite got their 1 goal from just putting it on net. Exen blocked it, and it just found Benito at the right place at the right spot. So, you know, if I'm Exen, I don't really understand why you don't put the puck on net a little bit more, especially since it worked for you earlier, and the 1 goal that we saw in this game so far came from a product of someone just putting the puck on net. So the passing around and cycling is nice, but after a while, you have to try to test the goalie to some extent. As great as Nikke is, he can't save everything. So I think Exen's going to have to try to put an emphasis on that here at some point soon.
We get ready for the 3rd period. Parasite looking for the double. Exen trying to find a way back into this game. Let's see. They can indeed find that breakthrough. It is Parasite in control. Another quick opening goal to start a period. Loose puck. Menu's forced to cover. Not afford to take the same risks that Nikke's been taking.
Yeah, because one bad bounce that goes past that red line, all of a sudden Parasite is in full control of this thing. So Menu wisely playing on the side of caution.
Out there for Peakery to win the draw. Feed in front off the post and out the other side. Covered by Nikke, the best opportunity for Exen, but they do not get the fortunate bounce, Major.
They don't get the fortunate bounce, but a great opportunity there. You put the puck on net and you get dangerous opportunities. Need to see more of that for Exen if you want to get back into this game.
Benito across, they score! An absolute heartbreaker for Exen as they so nearly find the back of the net, only to see Vatu pot one down the other way.
I don't think there is a team in the ECL that has mastered the art of demoralizing goals than Parasite over the years. I mean, it looks like Exen, they have a goal to tie it on the other end. They get a great opportunity. It goes everywhere but in. It pretty much hit every inch of that red line behind Nikke. And in the next possession on the other side, Parasite just go right in and they score. I mean, that's what Parasite can do to you. And it's just so insane to see how just 2 possessions can completely shift the makeup of the game. We go from a potential 1-1 score to Parasite being in control in a 2-0 lead.
Exen need a response, and they need one quickly. That drive circles back to the forehand. Up again at the point, looking for space. Good save there by Nikke. Shooter didn't get all of it. Combo takes the hit, but can't make the play. Puck off of his fallen body to help Parasite get back in control. Benito. Combo again at the point. One-timer for Tamu, taken to the chest and nearly back to the blue line. Exen shot, saved by Nikke. It was down in the butterfly early. As Tamu with the stride, forehand, second chance, still keeps it alive. Feet in front, bounces around, and they score! Parasite thriving in the chaos. 3-0 here in the third period on Exen.
And how the tables have turned in this game. You know, the puck just kind of waiting, bouncing around. No one for Exen able to get it, unfortunately for them. Vatu right there to pick it up. Tough play for Benu to be able to make with that puck just kind of waiting there and not sure if someone on his team's going to pick it up or not. Vatu, right place, right time. And that's really where a lot of the goals for Parasite have come so far in this game. Right place, right time. They get a fortuitous bounce, and now it looks like Parasite in the driver's seat. Maybe Exen can make something happen, but it's going to take a lot.
9 goals to 1 with 10 minutes left in regulation in this regular season series. Dominance from Parasite, finding a way to score. Some unlucky moments for Exen, putting a big post hit. An immediate counterattack goal for Parasite. Exen the chance here, sent through the crease, open air. He dangles with speed, short side, goes back to the point. One timer for Vatu, puck still loose, kept out by Benu. Full pressure here for Parasite. Good job by Landstrom to send it out. Offside here. Exen have numbers for the moment. Mozia back to the point. Up there by Tombo, able to find the outlet pass. It angles with speed, handled well by Domi. Timer is blocked down by Mozia. Now just 4 minutes to play. We get a big time comeback here from Exen. Landstrom back to the point. Shot deflected off the post again. It is just that kind of night for Exen.
You know, game 1, it just felt like there was a lot of stuff that Exen wasn't doing right. Now it just feels like there's a lot of stuff that isn't going their way. I mean, they have been beyond snake-bitten, it feels like, so far throughout this game. 2 goals that they arguably could have had there of just an inch forward or an inch to the left or an inch to the right, and just the puck has not bounced their way. That happens sometimes, but give Parasite a lot of credit on the other end. They've capitalized, they've played well, they've limited Exen for the most part, and on the offensive end, they've been able to find opportunities. So, some fortuitous bounces for Parasite in this one, but can't say they haven't capitalized and haven't won.
Good movement, good blocker save though. Benu, 2 minutes left in this one. Exen putting up a better fight, but the result still looks like it's going to be the same. Bouncing puck. Landstrom in control. Back to the point again, another deflection. This one goes wide. 2-on-1. Nicky dangles for Vatu. Tried the short side. Benu able to keep it out for his 11th save of the game. As Exen looking to ruin something here for Nike in the final minute, much like they did last game. Nicky dangles for Benito. Parasite seemingly have no issues, waiting for perfect chances. Benu another save. It has been a rough night for Exen, a showcase night for Parasite, as they will pull off the double. All 6 points secured, and a shutout for Nike in game number 2.
Good you were not saying that in the last minute there. I'm sure Nike will appreciate that, but a well-earned shutout for Nike.
I've jinxed him plenty of times in the past, so I've learned my lesson.
I guess you owed him one then, huh?
Yeah, a couple, at least.
Well, he gets one there, and a well-deserved one for him, too. I mean, Exen definitely made Nike work a lot harder in this game than they made him work in the first one. probably got lucky there with a couple of posts, and obviously that one puck that kind of just trailed along the red line and never crossed. But nevertheless, even despite those two, Parasite, they were able to put up 3 goals, and I think it's easy to say that they well deserved both of the wins that they got here today. And, you know, obviously you don't want to look too big in terms of the long term, but for Parasite, that's a massive 6 points to get for a team that a lot of people expected them to be battling for that 1 seed with, which in playoff time could be a pretty big difference. So, you know, a massive 6 points for Parasite, not just in terms of being able to help themselves in the standings, but definitely making a statement. This is about as much of a statement win or a statement series I think that you could ask for. Not just being the team that you have been pretty much stacked up against and compared to for the last 2 months, but to pretty much dominate them throughout most of the series. I think Parasite today, I think they put themselves a cut above the rest of the league with the performance that we saw from them in those 2 games.
Some unfortunate moments for Exen in this one for sure. Parasite wins out at the end of it, and again, stay undefeated in elite competition here in our Winter 25 season. As we look to wrap things up here for our broadcast coverage here on Monday. But of course, I've mentioned it throughout the broadcast. We will be back with Tuesday Pro Division action, and then on Wednesday with further Elite Division coverage. As you get a look there at the matchups tomorrow, including some swapped logos on the right-hand side. I'll point it out so nobody in chat can. But we have Nova taking on Otuxit and SSK Esports taking on Owned Hexa in tomorrow's Pro Division Spotlight. Looks like I'll be solo for that one, Brandon. I'll miss you. I'll miss you. If you can make it, please make it.
I'll miss you too, man. I'm going to miss you too.
But again, that is tomorrow, our Pro Division Spotlight. And then again, we'll be back on Wednesday for more Elite Division action. For the moment, though, we will bring things to a close after a wild broadcast here on Monday. Again, just kicking off the week 2 action. Brandon, again, thank you for being here for this Monday's cast, and I look forward to calling more games with you as the season progresses. And a big thank you as well to our lovely producer behind the scenes who had his work cut out for him today. But what a wonderful job he did. For now, everybody, thank you again very much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow for our Pro Division Spotlight. Until then, have a good one. Take it easy, and goodbye.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.